Yeah, I was gonna say we're not live right now.
Hilarious.
Y'all didn't miss nothing. Old Ninja, take us away with some malt beverages and some pouring out of a fire whiskey or something. What you doing?
No, we're gonna. So we have mostly queens that have passed, but we got one king on here. So we're gonna pour out some Chablis on this one.
Mm, mm,
So, what is this? So then we're gonna start with Kelly Preston.
mm.
Actress, model, and wife of John Travolta, Kelly Preston has passed away. She starred in over 60 movies and TVs, including Stephen King's Christine, the movie Space Camp, Twins, Jerry Maguire, and The Cat in the Hat. Her latest movie was Gotti, where her husband played Gotti, and she played the wife of Gotti. She started acting since she was 16. She was born in Hawaii, and her middle name is like super cultural. I'm gonna butcher this, but it's I think a very good shout out to where she was from is Kamala Huea. I believe
Ooh.
that's her
Oh
middle
shit,
name.
my dog started
Uh,
barking when you said that.
uh, she's been married to John Travolta since 1991, and she's been diagnosed with breast cancer for 2 years and lost her battle. She was 57.
Damn,
Damn.
still relatively young. Still doing some very recent movies.
The I'm sorry.
She was doing
Was
some
that right?
recent movies.
Who? What was that?
Yeah, we
Homegirl.
were just saying Kelly Preston has done some recent movies and was relatively young.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her last movie was a 2020 movie, I believe. The Gotti film.
Wow.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Moving on to Zindizi Mandela, Ambassador Zindizwasa Mandela, youngest daughter of Nelson Mandela, has passed away. She was an activist and poet.
Was, was this Winnie? Was this Winnie and Nelson's daughter though?
Yeah, it's their youngest daughter,
Okay.
which is weird when you find out how old she was. She was an activist and a poet. She was South Africa's ambassador to Denmark.
Hmm.
Her activism started at the age of 12 when she wrote to the United Nations to provide protection for her family from South African authorities during apartheid and while her father was in jail. No cause of death has been stated, and she was 59.
Still young too, man.
Yeah, even though that's their youngest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Joanna Cole, the author of The Magic School Bus. Joanna Cole has passed away. The Magic School Bus was first published in 1986 and has sold, well, not sold, but has been copied 93 million times in print, and has spun numerous spin-offs as well as TV series that has aired for 18 years. A new TV series launched in 2017 on Netflix with new content coming up this coming August. Ms.
Mm-hmm.
Cole was a letter editor for Newsweek as well as librarian before she became an author. No
Did
cause
she
of death.
did she look anything like the redheaded teacher?
No, she does not.
It was Miss Frizzle, right?
Yeah, Miss Frizzle.
Yeah, she does not look anything like that. And the
Okay.
voice of Miss Frizzle was Lily Tomlin. It's usually the voice of a comedian. The
Mm,
original was Lily Tomlin, and the current one is Kate McKinnon.
gotcha.
A little fun fact: Little Richard did the opening theme song for Magic School Bus. For
Oh
anybody
wow,
out there who didn't know that, kind of cool.
I didn't know that.
There
Like
you
if
go.
you go back and listen to it, you're like, oh shit, that's Little fucking Richard. But then also, Malcolm Jamal Warner, I think his name is the guy who played
Theo,
He
who
was
Cosby Show,
Theo.
played the oldest brother.
Theo.
Theo, yeah, he was the voice of the black guy at the end.
Nice.
Another little fun fact.
Now,
Uh,
did
Love that show.
Little Richard? That was 2020. We lost Little Richard, right? Or was that 2019?
yes, it was literally like a month ago. We lost Little
Okay.
Richard. So no cause of death had been given
Correct. I remember.
for Joanna Cole. She was 75.
Okay.
So Naya Rivera, best
Yeah,
known for playing cheerleader Santana Lopez on Glee, has passed away. On
Badass
July
Santana.
On July 8th, 2020, Naya was reported missing after her 4-year-old son was found alone on a boat they had rented at Lake Piru in Los Angeles. The actress had gone into the water with her son. He managed to get into the boat due to his mom's help pushing him back in, but she did not come back up. Her son was found alone, asleep in the boat by the rental boat employees after it was not returned. He was wearing a life jacket. She was not. Her body was found on July 13th, and her death has been ruled an accidental drowning. She was 33.
Dude, that one was fucking sad, man. She was extremely talented, and one of the best parts about that Glee show in terms of her singing and acting. So super young too. And
Yeah,
her,
so
her brother
so-
was a football player, or is a football player too.
yeah,
It's kinda
so
sad.
ori-
I feel like she was kind of blacklisted with Hollywood because after Glee, you don't really see her in much of anything after that.
I mean, she could have chose to be a mom and not act.
Well, there was a bigger gap though. If her son was only 4 years old, there was a time when she wasn't as much in the limelight. But remember, she had that. I mean, if you follow celebrity crap, I think she had a relationship with Big Sean for a few years. It ended pretty ugly as well.
Yeah, they were engaged.
Oh
I
wow,
think.
that might have been her. Oh snap, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do some research on that.
She also, her role on the show was originally supposed to be a guest star, but because of the producers liked her and the fans liked her, they continued her role throughout the rest of the show.
Yep.
So,
And
And then-
her last, Instagram post was a picture of her and her son, and like she said something about, make sure to live life to the fullest because tomorrow's never guaranteed, and like for something like this to happen, it's like wow.
yeah, kind of all
crazy.
that. And next up, we have Grant Imahara.
Who's that?
Grant Imahara, electrical engineer, roboticist, and former host of Mythbusters, has passed away.
Oh,
Grant was an engineer for Industrial Light and Magic in the visual effects department for 9 years. He worked on franchises such as Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Matrix, and The Terminator. He also appeared in Robot Wars as both a competitor and a judge, and he was most recently part of the White Rabbit project with Mythbusters alumni Carrie Byron and Troy Belleci on Netflix. He also starred in the web series Star Trek Continues as Hikaru Sulu and the very popular fan film Star Trek Renegades. He passed away on July 13th after suffering a reported brain aneurysm. He was 49.
Mm. Young.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
a long list.
Oh shit, you got it? Nice.
Wait, Cronus, I got to stop you. The chat is complaining that nobody can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you, but
Yeah.
the chat is saying they can't hear you.
All right. Do you want to do some testing on that?
While we wait for that, I just want to give a quick birthday shout out to my friend Kristen. Her birthday is today. Happy birthday! Hope you have a great day and keep living your life to the fullest.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Kristen?
Yeah.
It's it.
All right,
Yep.
test.
It's it.
Hold on. There's gonna be a delay.
All right.
I don't know how my fucking
All right.
settings got all messed up. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah,
Uh,
we can
I
hear
always
you.
hear you.
Well,
Yeah, I
well,
always
so
hear
if
you.
you-
Can y'all hear Cronus?
Speak up in the chat.
Speak up in the chat.
That's fine, it'll take
a second. That's fine, it'll take a second. You want to continue your story?
You want to
then?
continue
We'll
your
just
story
keep it
then?
rolling.
We'll just keep it rolling.
Well, let me wait for them to see if they can hear it. If they can hear me first.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So, Black is Beautiful. It is a beer. And it's what I just held up a second ago that you guys could see. So, what's cool about this beer is that the proceeds for this beer goes towards legal defense funds and police brutality and a bunch of other issues that have to do with the African American community. Over 1,000 breweries have made their version of Black is Beautiful. If you go to blackisbeautiful.beer, you will read more about it. And it was started by Weathered Souls, and one of the founders of Weathered, I think it's the founder of Weathered Souls, African American guy. He's actually in the Brothers and Craft Brew group that I think most of us are a part of at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. The secret one.
Yeah,
the secret one.
It's like a secret group. And it's really caught on, like I said, over 1,000 beers. This one is from Russian River, which is one of my favorite breweries of all time. And I'm going to crack it open right now to see what it's all about. And what's cool is it's a nice stout, which is appropriate because it's a black ass beer.
Black.
What's cool is that, you know, other breweries that are around the world, because it's not even just the United States. It's every single state has a brewery that's making a Black is Beautiful beer in 19 countries. So, and all the proceeds go towards, you know, stuff that I said. So, and I've been waiting to get like one of their glasses. So they have this really cool Black is Beautiful beer by, like, I think it's called 17% something. I forget the name of the actual company, but they make like brewery apparel or beer apparel. And I'll be getting that in hopefully in the next couple of weeks. You guys can see it. But thank you, Marcus, for making this initiative and getting this beer out there. And it's a really cool way for to get funds to people that need it. Because if y'all didn't know, there's like a whole thing about you can literally go to jail for just being fucking poor and not being able to make bail or being able to afford a lawyer. If you look at budgets for public defenders, it's woefully underfunded all the time. And people are literally sitting in jail because they can't afford bail and they can't afford a decent attorney. So this will definitely help them with that. So with that, cheers.
Cheers indeed.
Cheers
indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's actually pretty. I'm looking at the breweries and like in California alone, there's like 116 breweries, and there's like ciders that are also making it. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Good shit.
Yeah, I wanted to go real quick back to the obituary section. I just wanted to make comments and everything. First on the Glee actress that's just really sad. And I know how to swim, but after hearing about like that story, and then that WWE wrestler that got stuck in the shore. I'm just paranoid to just be in open bodies of water. It's just crazy how I mean, that's just sort of happening. I guess where your life is here. I mean, doesn't matter if you're a strong swimmer and everything. I guess where your life best is to take from it. Something I'm gonna probably always whenever I'm in an open body of water. And then with Grant from Mythbusters, one of the cool things. One of the little stories that they have about him. When they had that episode where they built like I guess a cannon and everything, that took place in Dublin at the Santa Rita jail complex and everything. They had like the bomb squad stuff there. The cannonball that they made actually grounds the ground damaged I think it hit a house and like somebody's car. Yeah. They literally told us that during like I was there that they almost had to shut down that entire facility because of that incident. There was something like extremely seriousness that happened. It was not expected. Projectile to just take off like that. And hopefully nobody got hurt. And everything was one of the sort of folklore stories that infamous with Mythbusters and everything.
So
Exactly what happened.
Yeah, going back to Naya, where the lake is. Apparently, there's a lot of dead trees. And when they were searching for her body, there was issues for them trying to search because it was really dark in the water because of all the dead roots and whatnot. And they thought that she might have gotten caught and drowned in one of those roots. So it hasn't been specific, but so far the coroner has just said she died from drowning. So it's possible she could have got stuck in one of the trees or one of the roots and couldn't get back up.
That's crazy. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, that's awful. That's awful. Where you guys want to? We got a whole list. Sorry, we got started a little bit late for those joining us. Where do you guys want to go first?
I want to talk about entanglement.
Ooh, yeah. I'm glad you said it.
I want to hear some of Prodigy's feminist takes on this new vernacular that's been deemed.
Hold on.
I guess.
Hold on. You know that the Oathbreaker is an acolyte of the Church of Future, so there's no feminist takes here. It's going to be all about bitches and hoes and double slapping. That's all you're going to hear in the next.
The god of Dirty Sprite has spoken. She belongs to the fucking streets. We all know. No, I mean, here's the deal. We all, even if you don't watch Jada's life coaching red table or whatever it is, which I certainly don't watch on any type of regular basis. I've seen a clip here and there. She had Will on there, and there had been rumors for a couple of weeks now about infidelity with her and some dude I had never heard of, I guess, who is in the music business, called August. She confessed on this show in front of Will that while they were in what she described as a break. Now, what that means, it wasn't clearly as defined if that was a legal separation. It certainly wasn't a divorce, but what she described as a break, she had sex with this very young guy. I think he's the same age as their son. So she's in her 40s, and he's early 20s, I guess, somewhere 22, 23. Something like that. Family friend, and she had sex with him, and Will's face looked all uncomfortable, like it was Pursuit of Happiness time again. The thing about it is this, at least for me and my take, I don't see how this is something to celebrate at all. It doesn't seem like anything positive for Jada. Like it wasn't some Stella got her groove back situation, as far as I can tell. It seems like this guy, and again, I wasn't there. It's hard for me to tell more than what they were actually saying on this show. But it seems like this guy is extremely young and vulnerable, and got with one of his friend's moms. And usually that isn't appropriate. If Will had done it, we would have certainly the internet would have certainly had a different take on it. I will say that definitively. I think there is a little bit of a double standard here, but it seemed real fucking messy, especially for someone who claims to be some life coach to be sleeping with her son's friend.
Did you listen to the entire interview, or
what's that? One more time.
I said, did you listen to the actual interview?
Yeah, I did watch it.
Okay, yeah, I got through about maybe like 3/4 of it just because it was so weird. But the way she described it was that he was going through, I guess, some mental sadness and everything, and they invited him in the home to take care of him. Yeah, mentally broken and stuff like that. And she, while taking care of him, trying to get his mentals right, decided to just take care of his other needs and stuff. Yeah, and it was just really weird and awkward. And I don't know, you don't really know celebrities, what happens outside of what you see on screen and what they let you see. But I mean, the general sort of consensus, and I'm not going to say that Will's a great person because, like I said, we don't know. I felt really bad for Will.
Yeah.
It was just really, really crushing to see him I mean, from what it looked like, he really cares and still cares for her and stuff like that. His wife. And why are these conversations taking place in a public setting? And that just seems dysfunctional itself. Like if I'm having some issues with Lilo, or I assume same thing with you and Mishka and Blue and the Sweetness, Kronos, K-Mac, Old Ninja, his right hand. These things would happen in the privacy of your own home. It's not like, all right, we need to just let everybody see our business out there, because I think it's more important to work on the problem rather than to try to let everybody see and get ratings and clicks and sponsorage off of it.
Did you see at the end? At the end, I'm sorry, real quick. At the end, they did this weird like a fist pound saying "bad marriage for life," and I was like, "How are you fucking proud of that?" Like,
yeah, talking about they still got each other's back and stuff like that. I'm like, man, this seems so fucking fake and artificial. Like, this relationship's probably been over for years.
But the other thing too, people made this leap, this magical leap too. I saw the interview for myself. There's nowhere in there where either one of them is saying, "Oh, well, we had an open marriage, no big deal." But people are saying, "Oh, it was open anyway." I'm like, well, that's not the words that they used to describe it. I don't know. Sorry, Kronos, get in here.
Yeah, hopefully the people. Yeah, can you hear me? Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what happens.
No, we can.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully the audience can hear me. I had to do like a bunch of changes. Anyway, yeah, I mean it's weird, but I'm not really surprised. I mean, look at their kids are really fucking weird. So are we really surprised that they're fucking that they're weird at this point? I mean, seriously, like I don't want to. If they want to be in an open relationship where they both know, I guess that's cool. But it's also kind of fucking weird where, you know, Prodigy brought this up, and it's something that's totally valid, is that you have somebody that's in, like, she's like in her late 40s and early 50s, right?
Something like that, mid 40s, something.
She's got to be in her 50s, because I'm fucking 40. Oh, she's 48. Okay, so she's in her late 40s, yep. And she's fucking some dude that's her kid's age. And it's just like, if that was Will fucking a woman that was that young, that would have been a huge scandal. But the fact that it was Jada, like all of a sudden she gets a pass, you know, that's weird. But at the same time, I mean, if you want to go do whatever you want, I mean, what happens in your bedroom, I guess, is up to you. It shouldn't be a big deal, but I mean, there's obviously, if it was the roles are reversed, it'd been a much bigger deal. And I think that people need to recognize that. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. It makes everybody uncomfortable to see that level of dysfunction in whatever type of weird marriage they have going on. But I'm not saying that he was not a minor. He was not like 17 years of age when this happened. So it wasn't a pedophile situation. But as all of us being 40-year-old men, you know, I mean, look, your kids' friends, even if they are adults, should be off limits. Like that's crossing a line. You know what I mean? But whatever.
Bro. All I'm saying is that y'all described the category in Pornhub, which I know half of y'all watch. That's literally what this sounds like. It sounds unbelievable, but it's like this is literally something that people consume out there. So it's like weird that a famous couple is doing this. So I'm like, wait.
Well, to put things in context, when this dude was born, Jada was 25 years old.
Yeah.
That's weird as fuck. Like, it you know, I'm 40, and to me, I can't relate to most people, especially a woman that is below the age of 30. Like, we don't got shit to talk about. You know what I mean? So, and we definitely ain't fucking. So, I mean, obviously I'm in a relationship, but it's just like, that shit to me is like, it's weird as fuck. Like, the gap there is like very odd to me. I never understood that whole thing. Like, as I got older, you know, my taste changed to people that are my own maturity level. And there ain't no fucking 23-year-old on this goddamn planet that is at the same maturity as I am. So
think about the son, though. If you're Jaden with all his weirdness, and the entire fucking world knows that your mom, really, because they're still married, cheated on your dad with your homie. Like,
yeah,
that's the worst look ever. You don't trust your friend, number one. You don't trust your mom, number two. And maybe you don't trust anybody on this planet no more. You know what I mean?
The whole reason why this all happened was because August and Jada was on like a red carpet or something like that, and people were taking pictures, which is fucking weird. Like, why would you take your side piece on a fucking red carpet or something like that? But also, like, he talked about how he had approval from Will to be able to sleep with his wife, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, because we always heard like Will and Jade have some like open relationship, and they do all kind of crazy things, and people kind of ran with that, and I guess they had to kind of clear the air until they did her red table talk, which is fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that's where it's all kind of stemmed from.
Well, this is what's sad to me is that, you know, Will did all this stuff to like basically appease her in the past. This is all documented. They both talked about it, how she was just like basically, or she gave up her career and then she was like, she wasn't happy. So he gave up his career for a long time to stay at home. And they would do separate holidays and shit like that. So it was just like, it seemed like a lot of it was like from her. Like, it seemed like she didn't give up shit. and he gave up like a lot. You know what I mean? Like, yes, don't get me wrong. She gave up part of her career for sure. But it sounded, from what I understood, it sounded like that was something that she wanted to do anyway. Yeah. And then after the fact, he gave up his career for like multiple years because she asked him. And then she's the one that brought up, let's do all this stuff separately. And it's just like, do you really want to be in a relationship with him? Because, I mean, I'm not a fucking therapist, but it's like, it doesn't really sound like you really want to be with the guy anymore. So just, why the fuck are you even still together? I mean, just be honest with yourselves. If you're happy with somebody else, then be happy with. If you're happy without them, then just be without them. Don't sit there and fuck around and try to like use these mental backflips so you can have sex with somebody else because the person that you're with isn't making you happy. Stop trying to mold them to make it them the person that you want them to be. It's just gonna, in the end, it's gonna make Will a really bitter man, and he's gonna sit there and he's basically. I forget the quote who the person said, but there's like a lot of men live a life of quiet desperation. And that's what I feel like Will Smith is going through right now, is quiet desperation. You can tell it in his face when he do these fucking interviews. Just like, just fucking break it off, man. Yeah. Like, just fuck it. Just go your own separate ways.
The fact that they call it an entanglement was fucking ridiculous. Like, she's like, I was in an entanglement. Will's like, Jada, come on, like, cut that bullshit. Like, you know the fuck you're in. You're in a goddamn relationship. And like, he also mentioned how, I guess he says in his interview that he kicked her ass out or something like that. So I'm like, what the fuck happened then? Because I guess maybe he found out about it and kicked her out. But I think he said it was something like 4 years ago when that happened. So I feel like from the impression I got is that they've been kind of separated for like 4 years now.
We can pretend that they're a power couple, but they're really not. This is not Angelina and Brad Pitt. This is not Beyonce and Jay-Z. Will Smith is on a whole different stratosphere in terms of like his acting chops, his career, his celebrity, everything compared to her. So I mean, I don't know if they both agreed. Yeah, we took time apart from our careers mutually. Like, come on now. Like,
remember we talked about this in a whole lot of detail when Aisha Curry was wilding out and talking super duper recklessly about how she wanted attention from other dudes and how Steph was getting all these thoughts in a flurry because he's this superstar MVP and NBA player. And we talked bad about her, rightly so, because she was out of pocket for that shit. This is worse. This is way fucking worse. This is emasculatingly worse for the husband who's a superstar. You got to be on TV with the entire world knowing your wife is so desperate for dick that she's jumping on some 21-year-old friend of your son's.
Yeah, that's so gross.
Yeah. And like Will Smith is a funny guy. Now he like is forever now the butt of like people can just pull that card on him whenever.
Yep.
And he just has to shut up and take it. Like I saw 50 Cent was clowning him, and he was just like, "Fuck you, 50," because you can't really say anything. You can't say anything. Yo, my wife is out in these streets, hoeing out, just acting a fool, and I'm supposed to be the funny dude, and everyone's laughing at me. Like,
ain't nothing. He should have stayed in West Philadelphia.
Yeah. That's how OJ went crazy.
Damn. Get there.
God damn.
Oh my God.
All right. Shit, that's hard to follow. Did anybody else see this Old Guard movie?
Yes, I did.
No.
Anybody else? I saw it too.
That's the one on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's me and you, Old Ninja. Let's kind of tag team this one real quick. This won't take too long.
Nope.
I heard the music was weird. I heard the music was really weird.
The music actually, to me, was. I mean, it's kind of modern. It was maybe one of the best parts of it. I didn't actually, flat out, no spoilers or whatever, but I didn't actually enjoy this one all that much. I thought it was just okay, run of the mill for an action movie. Some people were raving about it, like it was on the level of John Wick or some best of the MCU kind of stuff. I think it's based on a comic, but it's nowhere close to that caliber for me. What do you think, Old Ninja?
This is definitely just a mediocre film to me. This had a lot of potential, and it felt like it kind of missed the mark, especially in the like 3/4 in the film. I felt like the direction changed, and I'm like, this has to be an edit. And I felt like they literally edited to where the story kind of goes in a different direction. Because I guess they beat you over the head that they're going to have a sequel, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I get it, but focus on your main thing, resolve your story, and then do your little MCU wannabe, we're going to tease a sequel type thing. It just kind of went, I don't know. I can imagine the people that really liked it just like the action, because the action is stellar. It has great action scenes, but as far as the story and their weak ass villain, like at first you don't even know who the hell the villain is, and then when you meet the villain, he's fucking weak as fuck. I'm like, there is no way that this dude is taking down Charlize. Like, there's no fucking way.
Let me ask Kronos a question. I know you haven't seen it, but it just this bothered me, and I had to like. It took me out of the movie. I had to basically get on my phone and just do some bullshit ass tweets. Okay, if you're on a military base and someone who is non-military personnel with no identification whatsoever to justify them being on that base, and they kidnap a Marine, is everything going to be all good? No loose ends. Everybody's going to be fine, and they knock out a few Marines as well.
Oh no, they would be. First of all, coming out if it's a single person coming on base.
Yeah. Oh, they steal a Humvee too.
Yeah, it's virtually impossible.
That's literally you've played Grand Theft Auto. That's 6 stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to keep? Everyone's playing Grand Theft Auto. We know how things escalate. That's an easy 6. You can go onto the military base, and that's like 5.5. And when you get like open up the jet cockpit. It's like they send the SAMs out. It's 6 stars.
Yeah. Well, you really wouldn't even get off base.
Yeah.
I mean, because all the exits, like if anything happens on a base, this happened when this is during 9/11. Okay, so when 9/11 happened, I got to see like a base actually get shut down. So like barricades come up, nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah.
And like if somebody comes on base and tries to do like any kind of like offensive shit, they're gonna shut down the entire base. And all the guns are going to come out and find you, and we're all going to shoot you. So that's like, there's no good end to this. Like if you go on a base and do something.
I want you to know there's certainly superpowers in this, like they're immortals or whatever, which can justify some stuff. Obviously I know it's not completely real world, but when I saw that bullshit of the military basically shrugging at some civilian coming on base and kidnapping a Marine and stealing a Humvee and attacking military police, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, no, that really wouldn't happen. Even on like even if you were like in a commune, which I was on a commune, but it's still, you're not going to just waltz on base, kill some Marines, and then like kidnap somebody and walk the fuck out. Like, that's the chance that, was it like a team of people?
No, single person. And they stole. So they kidnapped the person and stole the Humvee. And I was like, what?
No. Yeah, I can't see it unless the guy was like fucking Superman. Like,
I mean, yes and
there's
no.
no way walking out of that motherfucker. Was he bulletproof?
Well,
yes.
She has immortality powers, but that to me that was neither here nor there. It took me out of the movie because I was like, are you telling me the military just kind of said no harm, no foul, and shrugged? Readdressed it as well. They were just like, oh well, this one Marine got kidnapped from this base, no big deal.
Well, they just never go. They never go back to it. So
yeah, it was bad. To me, the writing was bad, and it felt like early episodes of, even though, you know how Arrow had some pretty good action, but it was TV action, and this is a movie. I kind of hold it to a different caliber. This was certainly no better than, an average season of Arrow when it comes to the action scenes, in my opinion. I give this like a 6.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say this is definitely a 6.
Have anybody seen Palm Springs on Hulu yet?
No.
No, what is that one?
So Palm Springs is kind of like it's a fun twist on the old school Groundhog Day. It has Andy Samberg in it, where he plays a guy who's trapped in a time loop at his wedding. And it also has Kristen Milanti or something like that. That's her name. She's also in it, and she somehow gets stuck in it. But it's actually pretty funny because he's been stuck in his time loop for like 1,000 like revolutions. And so like he talks about how he's been kind of coping in it, and like he's like master like because it all takes place at his wedding. He's stuck in his wedding, so he like knows like everything that's about to happen, and like he just kind of if you were stuck in a time loop, you probably do this too. But he started hitting on like all kind of chicks and stuff like that. But eventually he gets bored. Like he can't die, so even if he kills himself, he just wakes up the next day back in the same bed in the morning. There's like situations with his girlfriend that happens. It's really funny, and it's a great movie. It also have I had a pretty good list of celebrities in it. Also have J.K. Simmons, the guy who played Spider-Man.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's up in there, and the guy who plays Superman in the new the CW Superman, he's also in there, which is kind of cool.
Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. It's really fun. I don't even like Andy Samberg. I don't think he's really that funny, but he's actually pretty funny in this movie. So I definitely say check that out. I would give it probably like an 8.5. It's actually pretty funny.
Well, okay, that's high praise coming from Blue, especially the gems you be finding like that Deathstroke, which will be on Blu-ray soon.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's about to be on Blu-ray. I think it's the end of the month, something like that.
I only saw the only episode I was able to find was that first one, which was that pilot.
That's all they did. But it was well worth it, though.
They gave you a little sample of like, okay, that's it, no more.
Yeah. I guess. But
now, what is this?
I'm hoping it's worth buying.
What's this bullshit? It seems to me like bullshit. Maybe you guys disagree. What are they trying to do with Velma? So Velma's now in canon lesbian on Scooby-Doo?
Huh?
What?
Yeah,
I saw it too. And I was just like,
since when?
I thought it was
supposed to be like 2020. I don't know.
I heard Scooby was trans. I'm just saying.
The 2002 movie, Velma was supposed to be a lesbian, but she never came off that way. But I mean, I can see her being a lesbian, but I don't know. I always assumed her and Shaggy like dated in the past. I think even in the cartoons they dated.
They did sometimes, but you know. Here's why this isn't really plausible or even believable for me. There's been like 60 years of Scooby history and shit, and my daughter's all into it now or whatever. So I've been watching some of the old ones. The thing is this: if she is lesbian, not bi, how in the entire fuck are you around sexy ass Daphne all this time and not fucking licking your lips every single day talking about I want to munch that carpet?
Because Fred is all up, Fred busting all up in there.
I'm just saying, but she should be lusting after Daphne. We've never really seen that.
We haven't, but she probably knows that she's off limits, so she wants to fire her new Strange.
Have you seen Daphne?
Well,
yes, I've seen Daphne.
Well, this is the weird thing in the when I watched Scooby-Doo as a kid, I thought they were all just like kind of ambiguous. Like, I don't remember like there being any like real relationships. Like sort of with Daphne and Fred a little bit, but they were never like going on dates and kissing and holding hands and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody in the whole show had any sort of. The show is about. It's a mystery. It's a mystery show.
Yeah.
So like I don't know why like nobody had like some kind of sexual thing that I can remember in the show until I kind of injected now. It's just like kind of weird. It'd be like if we assign like sexuality into like the Care Bears.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like that was never. But like they weren't dating. None of them were dating.
Yeah.
Or the Smurfs. Like even when we had Smurfette wasn't fucking nobody.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Smurfette was made by Gargamel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
but the bear. That Baroness on G.I. Joe was fucking everybody. All them snakes around.
No. She was only fucking Deathstroke. And everybody knew if you fucking touched her, Deathstroke would cut your fucking head off.
She has some entanglements. No. You know she has some entanglements.
No.
I think this is something that like the new generation doesn't really seem to understand today. Is that they like to assign all of these like gender roles and sexuality roles that are like, you know, sort of atypical in all these, you know, old shows and even new shows. But it's like, listen, when you're a kid, like you're not thinking about that kind of stuff. Like you're not. So all these shows are geared towards kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think sex of any form should be geared towards them. So I don't really want them to be interested in like all this sexual stuff until they're like a little bit older.
Yeah.
You know, and like towards their teenage years, not in their early years, because it's very confusing. You know.
I will say there are a few slight exceptions, even from back in the day, and they never show this anymore. But remember, Pepe Le Pew was a horny motherfucker.
Yeah, that is true. But it was also he's rapey too, though. So that's not, you know, that's not a great example because he was super rapey.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that's why they don't show it. I'm just they've completely eliminated him from all old Warner Brothers, kind of like the racist Disney past. But I'm just saying we've seen a small minority of characters that did have some sexuality, but the overwhelming majority, you're absolutely right. They didn't have any, you know. But I will say I've seen a few more modern adaptations where Fred and Daphne have been a couple. I think maybe even in the latest Scoob movie and a few other.
Even
cartoons.
Before that, there was when they did their crossover with Johnny Bravo, like they were caught making out.
Okay.
Which is
hilarious.
But
it's still been super lightweight. And again, Velma's had every opportunity to be lusting after Daphne or other women, and we've just never seen it on screen.
Yeah, let me be, I guess, a little bit more fair here, is that I think that as kids get older, they should be at least told about, you know, different sexualities and, I guess, different genders now, because they exist, you know. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not comfortable with a kid knowing about a man and a woman fucking, you know, at a certain age, and they should not be comfortable with a woman and a woman fucking, or a woman and whatever the fuck gender you might happen to be fucking. So I think we need to draw the same exact distinction there, is that when you talk about sexuality, it's that line should be universal of like when they should be learning about this kind of stuff. Just because somebody might happen to be, you know, in the LGBTQ plus whatever community doesn't mean that they get a pass to teach my kids about their sexuality earlier in life than when they would normally get taught about sexuality. Yeah. So let's have a standard on when we want to teach, because I don't want like a 6-year-old to be learning about sex.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's appropriate at that age. No. I want them to understand there's different sorts of people out there, but I don't want them to be interested in what the fuck they're doing at home with another person. Like that's none of their business at that point. They don't have the intellectual context to understand what is going on at that point. And I think if somebody wants to argue that with me, then you're living in a different like place.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand how kids work. You probably don't have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just realized that Scooby-Doo was a Great Dane. That's all I really figured out. Yep. I was like, okay, I know what kind of dog he is or whatever. Yep. Scrappy, I guess, was his cousin or I didn't know the family relation. But then shit changed in 2011 because I found out Brie Olson during the Pornhub parody and Bobby Starr that Daphne and Wilma were definitely lesbian. I'm sorry, Velma. And then who else was? Evan Stone was also. I think Evan Stone played Shaggy. But that was in 2011. That was way back. But it's a classic film, classic parody film.
I will say this too.
The one thing that we know is constant is that Shaggy and Scooby are fucking potheads.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Which is also something you don't understand until later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? It's like one of those things.
And I'll tell you this though, if you watch Pixar, you know you're an ass guy. Even as a little kid, you're gonna see Miss Elastic on that Pixar's The Incredibles, and you're gonna be like, God damn, that is a fascinating woman. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe age 10 and above. I don't know. But yeah, no, you don't need to go down too far down the rabbit hole. But I will say this though, there are some cool comics that get into kind of more T for teen and up subject matter with Scooby-Doo. I think the Scooby-Doo Apocalypse stuff was super fun, and it was like a modern twist on this 1960s these 1960s characters. For that, I wouldn't be as mad at some additional relationships, but I don't know, man. This is kind of a stretch to me.
Yeah, it looks like James Gunn tried to make the Velma character gay in the 2001 Scooby-Doo movie.
The live-action ones?
Yeah. I'm reading about it right now. Man.
But he failed, though.
Oh, yeah. definitely did. Because the girl who plays Velma in that film is she's in the movie Dead to Me.
She's also in the MCU. She's Hawkeye's wife.
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
She still looks pretty good for her age.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stitch, what's going on with the skins?
Oh
wow.
shit.
Well, yeah, since us as people of color, we've demanded for equality and defunding the police and making sure that police brutality ends. We've been offered the opportunity to paint the sidewalk with chalk and other things that we didn't fucking ask for. Like, here, we took Uncle Ben's off you, or a box of rice. We know you're mad about cops whooping your ass and shit in the street for no reason, choking you out, but look at this new logo for this maple syrup. Like, so along those lines, they've decided to, I guess, all aboard the train. So they decided now is the right time to change the name for the Washington Redskins football team. That name goes back way back in the day, and I could bore us with a bunch of historical stuff, but it's we all know the term Redskin is a slur. I listen to a lot of sports radio, like on my time off and when I'm like driving around, and just hearing like people just try to defend the name just because it is what it was and blah blah blah, and it's ridiculous cancel culture and everything.
It's what it was.
It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, and yeah, there are other examples, and maybe those things will be addressed in the future with the names Indian Chiefs and other college mascots and everything. But with Native Americans, and I have a good number of Native American friends. Our friend BJ, his brother, D-Train, they're all Native Americans from Louisiana. They're from legit family lineage is Native American. So I've talked with them about some of these issues just because, I mean, I guess we all do have maybe some Native Americans friends sprinkled between us, but I think a lot of majority of people around the United States don't. So
because they got fucked. So this is like when people talk about like African American problems, I'm like, yeah, we have problems like a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to like minimize that, but Native Americans are still getting fucked to this day, like at levels that they kind of surpass our levels. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like
they were blocked from getting their stimulus checks.
Stimulus checks, yeah, and they weren't getting PPE. They're dying at high rates for COVID-19, and they got all their land stolen, and they got put on shitty land, and that shitty land they're on, they can't even fucking drill into for fucking water.
Yep.
And it's just like, what the fuck? And you want to continue to like shit on them, but like calling it. And don't get me wrong. Well, you know what's disturbing to me is that I'll watch these conservative news channels, and they'll be like, "Oh, we have look at these 3 Native American people that are saying, yeah, Redskins names are okay," but it's like, but for the vast majority of them, it's not okay. And it's not okay with me. Like, listen, it'd be like if you had the Washington Negroes, or the Washington Blackies or Darkies or something like that. That's not okay to call them. Like call it a different name, another Native American name. It should be fine.
Yeah, and even with like the lesser version of it, with like Cleveland Indians and stuff like that, it's like, would we?
They're not Indians.
Even if like they were to create like a hockey team up in Seattle and call it like the Seattle Koreans, like we would be like, that's not right, and people would be like, oh well, it's not offensive. Why do we need to make a group of people like a mascot? Like I don't really understand that, and like force it upon them. And especially with the Indians, they did go back and change a lot of their caricatures of like their logos with Chief Wahoo and stuff. If anybody's seen like Major League, the movie, it's like a caricature, almost like a Jim Crow blackface.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
With that, except it's a Native American version with just a Indian with a big cheesy smile and everything. And a lot of sports franchises have been doing things to take down some of that imagery. The names are still there for teams like the Braves, Chiefs, but there's been a lot of talk, and I think rightfully so, about stopping people from coming to these places in like headdresses and appropriating their culture in sort of an embarrassing, drunken way. And I'm all for that, even though I'm not Native American. We've talked about this before in terms of like being able to empathize with other people's fights in terms of what they're being discriminated or how they might find something offensive. The name Redskin doesn't offend me, or Cleveland Indians doesn't offend me personally, but I understand that, it's a fucked up name, and it's got to go. It should go. We shouldn't be referring to people that are sports teams like that. It's something that we can get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, recently, like in the past like couple of months, it's difficult. I don't like calling people white or black anymore, because like none of us are white or black. My skin is not black; it's fucking clearly brown. And people that we call white, their skin is pale. Unless you're an albino, you're not fucking white. And so I don't understand why we still use these terms to call each other. Like it's really weird to me. Like I think it needs to just go. You know what's weird to me? We don't call Native American people red, and we don't call Asians yellow. Meanwhile, society is okay with calling people black and white.
Yep.
Why is that?
Yeah, I always like the joke that said that like with black people, when you're born, you're black. When you can't breathe, you're black. When you die or when you're sick, you're black, and blah blah blah. But with white people, when you're born, you're white. But when you can't breathe, you're blue. When you're mad, you're red. When you're sick, you're green. Like you want to call us color when you go through all these multiple colors. It's like I always thought that was funny.
That is from Dick Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really?
Yep.
Yes, there's from Dick Gregory.
Real quick, a big fuck you goes out to the former Washington Redskins owner and now whatever their new name is. This Dan Snyder, I think I have that right.
He's still the owner. He's not. Yeah, he's still the owner.
Still the owner, but the name is what I mean. What meant by former. Okay. Fuck him. He had heard the calls for this name change for literally decades. He didn't do shit until corporate, and I shout out to some of these corporations. FedEx was one of them. Said, not in this day and age. Not after all these protests. We don't want our corporate brand associated with this Washington football team unless you change the name. And because his money was fucking threatened, he decided to get a conscience about this racist ass name. So I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm not patting him on the back or stroking his fucking dick about this name change. It was purely out of selfish financial reasons that he's willing to do this. It was the right thing to do 10, 15, 20 years ago. And there has been controversy about it for decades. And finally he caved in because his money was threatened. Fuck him.
On a little side note, the Redskins were the last NFL team to integrate in terms of having an African-American player on their roster. It was something like 15 years or something. It was some ridiculous time frame from when they actually had a black person on their roster. Ironically, though, they did have the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl in Doug Williams in like 85.
Yeah, 83. But you know, what's amazing too, and I'm glad you bring that up, Stitch. DC has been always, or not always, but for the last 50 years known as Chocolate City. For a fucking reason. Yeah. It's a black ass city. Like, for those who don't understand the demographics, yes, you have, the White House and Congress and all that other stuff, but the district itself, it's black as hell. You know what I mean? It's a lot like Atlanta or Baltimore or something. So,
is it your most northern HBCU?
No, they're Pennsylvania has them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Isn't there one in New York? In New York State?
There might be a small one. I don't know. I'm not sure, but at least Pennsylvania.
But like the major ones, though, right?
Yeah. Howard.
Because DC has Howard. Howard's the huge one. So.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up too, and I didn't realize this, but I kept seeing it. For the Chicago hockey team called the Blackhawks, I guess that's named after one individual Native American human being. And not a tribe or anything like that. And so I would love to ask some more Native people if they feel that is a tribute to that individual or if that is still an offensive thing. I think maybe that's it all goes in the same bucket. I don't know, but I just heard about it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say what I talked to Stitch about before we went live is piggybacking off what the Oathbreaker's talking about. I think DC should go into their history books find out what natives that used to live in that area, and either name their team to attribute the natives there, or take the language and take the word, some word that means strength or warrior or something like that, and use that for the new team name. That way they can technically keep their mascot logo, but then have the name reflect, I feel something positive.
Not even the mascot is semi-racist, just because it's depicting a Native American having red skin, so...
Well, the actual logo itself is not. I don't want us to piggyback on it. That was actually depicted after a very honorable Native American person. And
I read the article with him. He's actually really honored to be on that logo.
Yeah.
He was super. I don't know if he's still alive.
I don't know if he's alive, but it was something designed. It was like a very really prestigious person that the actual physical face logo was. And everything.
Yeah,
so
it's
most
literally
people
like
don't have a problem with that. Yeah, most people don't have a problem with that actual logo, with the actual name itself. But also, I mean, sports names have changed over time. With Stanford always wasn't the Cardinal. That name was Indian previously?
Something like that.
St. John's used to be Redmond. That was changed. And then approximately maybe like 10 years ago, there was a sweeping swarm of names that were changed. My school's arch rival in Louisiana Monroe, they were the Indians. They changed their name to Warhawks. And they were going sort of place by place with different mascots and changing them around. Two interesting notes, though, is Central Michigan, their mascot is named the Chippewas. And what they did specifically was they spoke with members of the Chippewa tribe and asked, hey, we're going to be offensive. How would you like us to handle this in the future? And I guess members from their tribe said, we're fine with you keeping the name, but we just don't want any like crazy imagery, no cartoonish type images, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a working relationship with the community up in Central Michigan. Also, the Florida State Seminoles, which is probably one of the most famous college football teams out there, they work hand in hand with the Seminole tribe down there. And they as a tribe were completely fine with Florida State keeping that name and didn't find anything offensive with things that they do specifically. They personally are one of the college football programs that I kind of admire, just with some of the traditions and the way they honor their Native American history in that area, with the whole horse and the putting the spear into the ground and stuff. Everything that they do is in a real respectful way. And a lot of colleges were just like, we're done with this imagery. And some of them decided to keep it. I think Miami of Ohio used to be something that was kind of borderline offensive. Even Syracuse, I think before they came the Orange, they were the Orange Men and everything, and they ended up changing. So this whole stuff about, it's been that way for a long time.
Is the Orange Men? Wait, is that for President Trump? They're the Orange Men? Is that what we're doing?
Orange dicks. But yeah, so this whole tradition thing, these colleges have been around a lot longer than these professional teams, and they were able to be like, yo, this shit's got to go. That's fine. We'll change it. And they're fine. So saving this whole stuff about like, we're losing a piece of our history, we're forgetting where we came from, etc. No, that's bullshit.
For real. All right, where you guys want to go? Sorry, I've been switching up the topics on you, but go ahead. Okay.
Are we still here?
Oh, sorry. I was typing. Someone was asking. I was talking to somebody. What do we have on the list?
You want to do the Ubisoft games?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
So yeah, Ubisoft did. It wasn't a State of Play. I forget the name of their actual. I think it was Ubisoft Forward or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. They have these silly names now. But basically, what we're getting now is the remnants of what used to be E3. They're all, they already had all this footage put together for E3, but then COVID-19 happened. The fucking world ended. They need to have something to do because they're still making games. The games are already made at this point in time. We already know this. They take years to make at this point in time. So Ubisoft Forward, or whatever the fuck they happen to call it, I liked it. They showed Watch Dogs Legion. They showed Hyperscape. They showed Assassin's Creed Vikings, and they showed a quick cinematic clip of Far Cry 6, which we'll get into later. So
I thought it was Valhalla.
Was it Valhalla?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was Vikings.
Valhalla.
Is it called Valhalla?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. Valhalla with the Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I was pretty sure I was right. Some of the fucking V. Norse people. Anyway, I was pretty impressed with what was shown. When I saw the Watch Dogs thing, I was already interested in getting it because I'm a huge fan of Watch Dogs, even when Aiden was the original protagonist, you know. And then we went into the black guy. What was his fucking name?
Oh shit.
Marcus. Was it Marcus?
Marcus, yes.
Something like that. Yeah, and it was in the Bay Area, so the game was dope because we all were like, "Oh, we know all these places are and shit like that." Great game. But this one, Legion, seems really interesting because basically you can take over, you can recruit and be pretty much any NPC in the game. And you can like recruit them into DedSec to infiltrate and, you know, take the city of London back from, you know, the main bad people. And it just seemed really cool because all the NPCs have like their own backstories and their own like strengths and weaknesses. So like they were showing like an old lady that's like an old hold on. They showed like a person that was like a cab driver and a person that was basically fucking John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, holy shit, like he was doing serious John Wick shit in this. And they had like this really cool like short movie by like some director I didn't know of, but it seemed really cool. You know, I'm definitely interested in that. Did you guys see the Watch Dogs Legion deal?
Yeah, I saw part of that. I saw part of what you were talking about, how like any character that you come into will have their own strengths and weaknesses and different stats. But then they showed there was like literally hundreds of people in one area, and I'm like, how the hell they're gonna manage this? And then I figured they had this little trick on doing it, but like I think you can recruit more than one person at a time or something like that. Like you can literally have like a small army running with you, and if they die, like something unique happens or something like that. I forgot. I've toned out at that point, but it looks super crazy. Like it looked like you were hacking people at one point, but you're really just recruiting them. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was the same deal as in like the other games where you use your phone to like hack their phones and like get more information about them, so you can see their stats before you decide to recruit them, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks certainly interesting. This is, I believe, still dropping this fall though. Like this is a launch next gen title.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on board. Let me ask you this though: if you had to pick between this one and Valhalla, which one impressed you more?
I think as far as like new stuff, probably Watch Dogs. I mean, Legion, I'm going to buy both the games. So, but, you know, Assassin's Creed, there's a lot of new mechanics are in the game. But but the fact that you can take over like any NPC, like potentially, and recruit them into your own like little gang, is pretty fucking dope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's kind of a toss up between the two. But I will say I'm interested. I didn't play Watch Dogs 2 still, so I might jump into this one. I like the London setting, but the one that I can't wrap my head around is the hyperspace, which I believe is Ubisoft's Battle Royale one, and that just seems like a really crowded space right now with, you know, Fortnite and Call of Duty, and then obviously Apex.
Well, it wasn't clear to me if it was like a traditional Battle Royale or you were just happened to be in like a VR like instance of what would be a Battle Royale in the game.
Huh.
So that's what I wasn't really clear on. They probably have a Battle Royale component to it, but I don't think that it's pure Battle Royale from what I saw from the video, but I could be totally wrong.
Okay. I mean, I'm on one of these websites right now just trying to look at, I mean, they're describing it as Ubisoft's new fast-paced Battle Royale shooter.
Okay, well.
100-player Battle Royale, one winner. I don't know.
But it had a story, like a solid, it has like an actual story. So that's where it's like, how are they going to do that?
Maybe it's a mode. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. But I'm telling you this, I just feel like Battle Royale as a concept is, unless you are really going to come in and blow everybody's socks off, all these other people that have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into making their Battle Royale games the best that there could be, it's a pretty high bar to come in there and dominate and kick out the big 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's a space that you're likely not going to get any sort of foothold in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to me now because almost every big franchise has freaking battle royale. Even Battlefield has battle royale. Battlefield had battle royale before Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, but let's be totally honest. I mean, the #1 battle royale game right now didn't start as battle royale.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It started off as like a single player game that nobody bought, and they made it into a battle royale game that's like taking over the world. So we could be totally wrong. It could be dope.
In fact, the game that was ahead of it that had more players was PUBG. PUBG was the game that everyone was talking about, and then Fortnite just like overtook it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it still feels super crowded. And here's the other thing too. Apex came out, what was it, a year or two ago, and that one certainly got some shine, and people still enjoy that one. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's surpassed Call of Duty or Fortnite in terms of views and streams and whatnot, over the long term. But I don't know. Again, super crowded. And I don't hear anything about Battlefield's Battle Royale at all.
Not anymore, but I mean, I played it. It's fun. But it's weird because Call of Duty's Battle Royale is very similar to Battlefield's, like with the whole gas thing and everything. But the map I think Battlefield's map is probably a little bigger.
Yeah.
A little bigger.
Well, that's the way Battlefield's always been.
Yeah.
I mean, what I want to see Unreal come back with like their fucking shots.
That'd be nice.
At FPS.
That'd be fun.
Unreal has been taking so much time away from like actually building games, just making engines. I'm like, listen, we are ready, especially with the next gen coming out. We're ready for a new Unreal, and they basically missed an entire generation. They missed
several,
almost 2 generations.
Yeah.
I mean, they have one on the PS3, but they missed nothing on the PS4. That's at least 8 years we've had no new Unreal.
Exactly.
And this is a game that if you're a gamer, without Unreal, you would have no Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
without Unreal, you would have no fucking Gears of War. You would have a whole shitload of games.
Dude, without Unreal, you probably wouldn't have most current first-person shooters, really. I mean, if you play almost any first-person shooter, most of their modes are derivatives of Unreal, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, that's so
I think I have an Unreal with me right now. Hold on, let me grab this.
He's like, let me pause this podcast. While he's doing that, Far Cry 6. Someone wanted to bring it up, right?
Well, let's go to Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Valhalla, because that one looked pretty fucking dope. I didn't finish not Origins, but Odyssey because it was glitchy as fuck. I'll try it again in a couple of weeks to see if they patched it, that fixed it, because this is literally the game where I bought a whole new PS4 Pro because I thought my PS4 normal one was fucked up, and I have the same glitches on my PS4 Pro. But the game was good up until I hit glitches. But Valhalla looks really good because they put in a bunch of different gameplay changes. So first of all, you lead like a raid party, and you can raid entire little settlements and take them over and get the resources. They also revamped the combat system to where you can basically dual wield anything, including shields.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting mechanic. I think building up your own settlement by raiding other settlements is a really cool mechanic. And the game and you can play as a man or a woman again, and it's interchangeable, just like in Odyssey, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, what I'm proud of Ubisoft on when it comes to the Assassin's Creed franchise. They used to have this franchise on an annual basis, very much like Call of Duty or 2K or Madden, and they've shown a lot of restraint by taking their time, taking a year off, and saying, okay, we've come up with new mechanics, something fresh. We're not just using, basically recycling maps and giving you the same experience over and over and over again. So I'm giving them props. It looks interesting. Odyssey and Origins were some of my favorite, although I do need to go back and finish Black Flag. I think I might do that at some point. It's super dirt cheap. But I'm excited. I do love Assassin's Creed games, so I'm on board. What do you think, Stitch?
No, I definitely think I'll... Remind me? No. I definitely think I'll be picking this one up for sure. I take like little mini breaks in between the Assassin's Creed lines of games that come out, but I'm down for to play some Viking stuff. I don't think I watched too much into it just because I knew I was going to pick it up, but it looked really interesting. Graphics look really clean, and like Chrono said, the gameplay stuff looks pretty badass.
I saw that there was like a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like way more blood than the previous games, and there was dismemberment and beheadings.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that ever being in Assassin's Creed. I remember like you can stab the shit out of people, but motherfuckers weren't losing arms and legs and shit.
Well, what got me was in Assassin's Creed 3. You were lynching people. Like you were doing that whole rope dart thing, and I was just hanging people from the trees. I was like, this is some real shit. I mean, kind of low key enjoying it or whatever. But
you was going full Django.
Yeah.
Where's every white person in this game? You're all getting hung.
I was making Christmas trees with those soldiers.
Goddamn. Oh. Yeah, I'm on board. The other thing that's kind of interesting, like literally tomorrow, an Assassin's Creed-like game drops. The reviews are solid for Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, which I know is set in Japan, not Valhalla Viking land. But are you guys interested in it? The reviews seem very solid.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it the other day, but yeah, I'll get it on the 17th, whatever day it launches. I think it's the 17th or whatever. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I mean, Sucker Punch games, they're good games. I like the games, their games, because they're not impossible to platinum. Like, I hate games that you have to do all this fucking stupid bullshit to platinum. Like, if I do something where I have to like literally play a certain part of the game like 20 times to get a fucking, or more than that to get a platinum, I'm like, nah, fuck that. That ain't me. But in these games, I make it relatively sane to platinum.
Seems fair. The other thing is, and I went back, I only played it because it was a launch title, but I really enjoyed even Infamous Second Son in Seattle with all the stuff that was going on.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
And the DLC. DLC was great too.
Yeah, with the girl, and the lightning girl. So this seems like a huge departure for them, but you know, if you got great reviews, I'll give this a fucking chance. And it seems like it's, I don't know, mid-80s or something on Metacritic, so I'll probably pick it up at some point, but I feel like my backlog is still fucking growing. What about you, Old Ninja?
I mean, it looks okay, but I'm really just I'm not feeling this game for some reason. I don't know what it is. It's just like, it just doesn't interest me. I mean, it looks cool and all, but to me, it kind of looks like the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice game. I know they're not the same game, but they just look like kind of the same. But I mean, I'll wait to see like what people think when they play with it. Either, you know, if it's really good or whatever, I might buy it later. But right now, I'm still enjoying Last of Us 2 because I'm on my second playthrough and catching up on some of my backlog of games before I buy anything new. But this, from what I understand, this might be one of the last few AAA titles until like the craziness happens in the fall. So we'll see, I guess.
When do we get the new consoles? Is it November?
I think both are in November.
We don't have a solid date though.
No,
but
neither.
Here's the thing. There's no way in shit that they're going to miss Black Friday. So it has to be before Black Friday, but we don't know exact dates.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is that, I mean, Black Friday is usually for sales.
Yeah.
Right? These consoles are not going to be on sale. I mean, they'll be for sale,
yes,
but definitely not
they're not going to be discounted.
Yeah.
No, you got to pay full fucking price.
Mm-hmm. True, but I still feel like there's so much shopping that goes on that weekend. I can't conceive.
Will there?
Well,
yeah, I don't think there will be.
Will there this year?
Here's the thing. Even during tough times, there's still more shopping that goes on that weekend than usually any other time of the year.
So Cyber Monday.
Honestly, I'm going to Negrodamus this for you, okay? Black Friday and Cyber Monday are going to have the lowest sales in probably the last 10 years. The lowest sales in the past 10 years.
That may be accurate. I still think that the consoles will be out before then.
So
well, yeah, for sure, but I just don't think that, you know, listen, our economy right now is fucked. And people are literally like, next month, I expect there to be a serious issue with mass evictions.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen next month. If people start evicting people, there's gonna be a serious problem that that's something we have to come to grips with. Because don't get me wrong, I really want to play the fucking PS5. But if people start getting mass evicted, especially here in California, and they get kicked out in the streets, like at that point I don't really give a shit about the fucking PS5.
Yeah.
Like I'm worried about me and my family because
Agreed.
it's just gonna get fucking really fucking weird like really quick. I hope that it doesn't get to that point. I hope that the U.S. government stops doing these stupid ass small stimulus checks to people and large loans to corporations, and I hope that they start helping people because, I mean, if you can't pay for nothing, I mean, this is going to be devastating to the gaming industry.
Yeah.
It's going to be devastating to every single industry, so people right now, they're out of work. I mean, shit, fucking Blue's out of work right now.
Yep.
I just took a gigantic fucking pay cut this paycheck. This is the first time I got paid less than $2,000 on my paycheck for the first time since I can't even fucking remember the last time I got paid less than $2,000 in a paycheck. I honestly can't.
Yeah.
I was really
definite hard economic times. There's no fucking doubt about it. And nobody has a crystal ball either, because it certainly looks like it's going to more than likely get worse. Infections are up in all these places. I mean, we haven't even talked about the Rona because it's so depressing. We used to do the Rona report at the top of the show, but it's still fucking raging.
It was going down for a while. That's why we kind of stopped talking about it. But I mean, now, sorry to pivot off of gaming, but I mean, honestly, we're talking about gaming. This is something we wish for. I mean, obviously, we know we're going to get Ghost of Tsushima because that's coming out relatively quickly. But as far as the next gen of gaming, it's just like, it's really fucking iffy for me right now. Like, the coronavirus in America has gone up so incredibly high, with cases, and people are still giving the same bullshit excuses of, we don't need masks, and giving new excuses for not wearing masks. I'm gonna inhale carbon monoxide. Motherfucker, you don't exhale carbon monoxide. So how the fuck are you gonna inhale it from you exhale fucking CO2 and it goes through the fucking mask. How are you so stupid? If somebody can operate on a fucking human body for 8+ hours wearing a mask, how the fuck can you not wear it for fucking 30 minutes going to a goddamn grocery store? Seriously.
The greatest example is from the world of fucking furries. They are doing hardcore orgy-ass sessions, full fucking furry costume.
Here we go.
We've seen it. We know about it. If they can fuck looking in their full furry costumes, then you can wear a mask at Walgreens. You know it.
So all I can say is probably by November, cannibalism will probably be on the rise in the U.S., and then it'll probably be just about a month and a half before the zombies start coming around.
You forgot about the purge. There's gonna be a moment we're gonna have a fucking purge.
So when the zombies come out, that's when the purge goes down. That's when that's when the government's gonna be like, anyone that's out after a certain time, you're probably a zombie, so you're gonna be shot. So it's gonna be like that around just before Christmas time.
How about the fact that your U.S. passport is basically useless right now because other countries have this shit under control?
I'm afraid of Americans.
That shit has me rolling.
Announced earlier that the border for Mexico and Canada were closed, and I'm thinking who closed it? Did Canada close their borders? Did Mexico close? I know Mexico's been closing their borders. They're like, nah, you Americans ain't coming up in here, bringing that nasty ass Rona up in here.
Yeah, no Rona.
Well, it's fucking embarrassing.
It's all bad.
America it's embarrassing living here now. I think it was it Stitch who showed the video, or maybe it was Blue. The video, somebody had just it was in Huntington Beach, California. Okay? And they were walking around with a box full of masks saying that, hey, if you need a mask, here's a mask. Nobody on this beach in Huntington Beach is wearing a mask. And it was a couple days ago. And people were getting mad, almost getting into a fight over possibly wearing a mask. And don't get me wrong, Huntington Beach, Orange County is very conservative, but still, it's no excuse, man. It's that's why we're shut down again.
Shit, I thought that was in Florida.
No, it's Huntington Beach.
It was at Huntington Beach.
No, it's down in Cali, SoCal. It's all bad. It was
morons.
It was so bad. These guys were politely and calmly, they're like dude bros, and hey, do you guys need a mask, bro? And they're like, what? No, I don't need a mask. Fuck you. You can't take one of my rights. Bro, like, whoa. So does that mean you don't need a mask or what? I mean, they're like, it's free. They're all, you can't take this away from me. They're like screaming at them, trying to fight them. Other people are like, well, you're free right now. Like, how come you're wearing a mask and you don't need to? And there's like, what the hell? These two young girls are like, hey, do you need masks? They're like, hey, we have masks. And they're like, why are you not wearing them? And they're like, oh, we left them in the car. And they're just like, that makes no sense. Like, you're going out to eat with no mask. You brought your mask, but you had no intention of wearing your mask. So what was the point?
And that's why we're shut down again.
It really is so frustrating. And a lot of times I get to the point where I just get numb about stuff, but I feel myself starting to get actually really angry about this. Mainly because I just recently had my first kid, and my parents were supposed to fly out in April to come see their first granddaughter and everything. And because of this craziness, I have no idea when the fuck that could even be a reality now. And it's just it's shitty because my daughter's 5 months old now.
Damn.
And this does not look like it's ending anytime soon. And on a sort of a personal note, my dad had a stroke maybe about a month ago and everything. I'm just life is still going on and shit's happening. And it's I can't wrap my brain around what if my father had passed away, and I know Blue, you recently lost your father and everything. But I was just I would just be so pissed off, and I don't know, I can't judge how angry I would be if just because society in general, just for their own stupid, selfish reasons, just wouldn't get with the program in terms of helping society in general. And I just can't, it's really disheartening. And Kronos has talked about just saying, you know what, I'm looking at maybe getting the fuck out of here. It's just it's something I never thought I would ever even imagine, but I can kind of relate to it, where it's just people here just aren't fucking changing or even trying to understand or having any sort of compassion for just lives in general. It's just infuriating to me, and it's just sort of sad that I have no idea when my parents get a chance to meet my granddaughter or their granddaughter.
Yeah, it's a lot of craziness, man. I've actually had the experience of meeting people that are in very much disbelief that the virus is either lethal or dangerous or doesn't even exist. I talked to one guy, he believed that it was an artificial thing, it was created by the U.S. for population control. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense because it affected the whole world. Or if the Chinese did it, that doesn't make sense either because it still affected the whole world. So I'm just what are you talking about, dude? And then there's other people that are well, only these kind of people will get it, or only that type of city will get it, or only that type of state will get it. We shouldn't have to worry. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You don't know who has it or not. Literally, if someone sneezes on you, you should think that they probably have it, or you should act like they have it. But no, they just don't. They just don't have that kind of caution about it. They just don't act like this is a real threat. I think because if the coronavirus was a creature with eyes, legs, and teeth, then they probably take it more seriously. But because it's microscopic and they can't see it, I guess they can't believe it or something like that. I don't understand.
Can I say something real quick? The thing that had me laughing in my petty drinking tea scenario was just 3 people. Herman Cain talked a whole lot of fucking shit about the fucking Rona. And then, I'm hospitalized. I went to the Trump rally without a mask. Take this shit seriously. Then you had your boy Chuck Woolery from the old school dating show.
Not Chuck, though. Chuck was the man.
Chuck was talking that shit about how this was a conspiracy. Don't believe the CDC. Don't believe the numbers. Big hoax. Trump, MAGA, blah, blah, blah. The next
President retweeted him, too.
His son gets it, and he's like, oh, hey, y'all need to take this seriously. And then the third one, overseas, Prime Minister Boris Johnson was talking that shit. And he was in ICU for over a week and a half. Don't let this shit hit you or your family before you take it fucking seriously. It's not that goddamn hard.
Yeah. The president of Brazil or something, doesn't he have the coronavirus now too?
Yeah, he does. He does. So this is what I keep hearing from people that I guess that don't know anyone that's sick. Is they keep asking me, "Do you know anyone that's sick personally?" And I tell them no.
I do.
So I don't. But what I tell these people, I'm like, you should pray that you do not know someone that is sick, because that means it is getting closer to your neighborhood, closer to you, closer to your family. The farther away it stays means it's more likely that you will not get infected. The more people that you know that it enters your inner circle, you're probably at high risk of getting it. So
no, it's the stupidest thing ever, is saying that just because I don't know somebody that has it means it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Motherfucker, you know what AIDS is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anybody that has it? It fucking exists. You know about Ebola, right? You understand that exists. But all of a sudden, the coronavirus comes around and you pretend that it's some make-believe bullshit. And it's just like, I don't understand your thought process. And this is like, I have a problem with just like relating with like a good portion of Americans right now. Because I'm just like, you're living in some fucking weird fantasy world where, you know, racism doesn't exist and the coronavirus doesn't exist. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just because it doesn't affect you right now doesn't mean that it can't. You know what I mean? It's just like, you could lose your parents over just having dinner.
Yep.
You know?
But there was like a girl who she was asymptomatic, and she went to a party with families and friends, and she infected 71 people.
Yep.
In one fucking day, 71 people. And it's like she didn't have the symptoms. I mean, she got tested, but apparently between the time she got tested and this party, she got the fucking coronavirus and spread it to her family members.
I didn't know anybody personally who died in 9/11. I'd be an insensitive fucking asshole piece of shit if I was like, oh, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people are treating it like it's chicken pox. Like that's another thing. If people are just like, oh, you'll be sick for 2 weeks and you'll be okay or whatever. Oh, you're not gonna die. Like people, I've said it before. People don't understand the gap of like, there's a lot of fucked up stuff that can happen to you between like life and death or whatever. Like a lot of shit that you don't want and everything. Like the whole concept of like not being able to smell or taste food, that scares the shit out of me. And people are just like cool with that. Like, oh yeah, oh he's young, he'll be fine. Oh, it's just like the flu or whatever. Meanwhile, these people are just like, yo, I couldn't fucking breathe. It hurt. I was coughing nonstop. I couldn't taste anything. I do have friends that I have had it. They're like, water, just regular water, just constantly tasted like plastic. Like it's just completely super fucked up. And it's like, and then people that don't even know history, it's like, all right, FDR had polio, and he didn't die, but he sure in wheelchair.
He couldn't fucking walk.
Yeah. It's like what the, I don't understand people's like fucking reality, like concepts on this shit. And like my go-to, like down my flow chart of if I'm dealing with like an idiot with this whole coronavirus, I'm like, what's the long-term effect? And I just wait for them to try to give me an answer. They're like, oh, it's just like the flu. I'm like, oh, so what's the long-term effects of this? Like, what happens after you've had this for like a year? Oh, I don't know. It's only been around for whatever. So how the fuck do you know what the fuck is actually going on with this whole thing? If this thing has only been around, are you Dexter? You have a lab in your fucking garage and shit? You've been working on some experiments? How the fuck do you know what is going to happen to people's bodies? I want to see your degree in virology and immunization and all that shit. But no, they think they're experts because they watch Fox News and they assume, oh, it's like the chicken pox. If you had it, you can't get it again. Oh, I got the antibodies, blah, blah, blah. That means I'm immune. I'm like Mario with star power and shit. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Where do you get your fucking stupid news from? And it's just like, I want to just shake the shit out of people.
But like,
yeah, it's kind of it's disheartening because, go ahead, Blue.
The side effects of the virus. Yeah, I was just saying, like, they don't really talk about the side effects of having a coronavirus.
Oh, I've seen side effects. I've seen X-rays of what happens, and it's like damage to your lungs tissue, like damn near permanent damage of scarring.
So if you get scarring in your lungs, like your lungs doesn't fucking repair itself, and it becomes harder to breathe. Like when you take in air, your lungs expand. But when you have scar tissue, that scar tissue doesn't stretch, so it's harder for your lungs to fucking take in oxygen. So basically, you have fucking asthma. You basically become asthmatic. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, like, you know, they show signs of people having like blood clots and like which could lead to like stroke and fucking
but that won't kill you, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
asthma. Oh yeah.
Asthma. Hey, we just talked about a Broadway star who died last week, or no, he died a little more than a week ago, but he had to have his leg amputated because of blood clotting. And then he spent 95 days in hospital and died. This guy was an actor. He was in your homes, on your TV, and people went to go pay to see him to be on stage, and he died of COVID. And he was less than 40. Or no, he was 41, I'm sorry. He was 41. But still.
The news just showed like some guy, I think he's like in his 80s or something like that, who he survived COVID, but he was in the hospital for like 90 days. And this guy was like not Olympic, but he would do like all these kind of events, like Tough Mudders and all these marathons and stuff like that. And the guy survived, but it's like, okay, yeah, he survived. He's one of the lucky ones, but they literally rolled him out of the hospital in a fucking wheelchair. Like, dude wasn't walking. He was in a fucking. I know it's hard for them to take you out in a fucking wheelchair, but he left in a wheelchair, and they had to like load him into the car, and he had a wheelchair that went with him. So like, this virus is no fucking joke, man.
Yeah, you literally have professional. You have professional athletes that are getting this shit, like Von Miller, Kevin Durant, like all these other NBA players. Russell Westbrook has it now and shit like that. But even when you talk to these people that had it early on, they're still complaining about shit. They're like, "Yo, I don't have the lung capacity that I used to have." Now, I don't know many people out there in real life that are in better athletic shape than fucking defensive player of the year Von Miller for the Denver Broncos and shit like that, won Super Bowl and shit. Like I don't know many NFL players people that are in better shape than NFL players. So just assuming that, oh, well, you're under 65, so you'll be all right. Dude, Von Miller, professional NFL athletes saying, I'm still fucked up from this shit. You don't want it. And people just are just like, oh, well, did he die? Oh, then he's okay. Get the fuck out of here.
Sometimes, I don't think this is what people seem to understand. There are things that are worse than death.
Yep.
And people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah.
There are things that are worse than death.
I like my vision.
Yeah, it's like there are people out there. Like, listen, if you get this and you get hospitalized and you happen to die, you're gonna die alone.
Yeah.
Your family's not gonna see you. Your kids aren't like your kids, your mom, your spouse, all your family. They're not gonna be able to come and see you. More than likely, some people I guess have, but it's highly unlikely that your family's gonna be able to see you, especially if you're in a fucking hotspot to where they're running out of ICU beds. Nobody's fucking coming in there. So you're gonna fucking die alone.
And add on to that, sorry. When you do die, for your funeral service, not like it's gonna be limited. It's not you don't expect like you're not gonna get this fucking giant fucking party, everybody celebrating your life. You're gonna get like maybe 10 to 50 people that can go up to it, because that's literally what happened with my dad. And
if you're lucky, I guess a YouTube stream, right?
Yeah, if you're fucking lucky. This was like we were allowed to have 50 people, up to 50 people, because they opened it up. But since they rolled everything back again, it's back to 10 people. So your service is going to be very, very small. So there's not going to be a lot of people there to celebrate your life. So, take this shit seriously, folks.
Yeah, it's just terrible news. It's what's messed up. Also, Kronos was talking about the ICU beds, because I've been seeing reports in the hot states, Texas, Florida, they're starting to run out of shit. They're starting to run out of beds. They're starting to run out of places to care for people. And then Oathbreaker posted some shit that I couldn't believe, where fucking Texas is rolling in morgue, like, RVs.
More trucks.
Yeah, more trucks. Just to stack, like, the more trucks, they're not like little, like, freaking stacked. They're like stacking them like meat. They're stacking them in there. There's no, like, no care. They're just sacks stored in the truck.
New York had to do that at first, and I just saw the chat. Cake Man asked a question about like how do we open up? How do we move on? I mean,
wear a mask.
It's a shitty situation. We fucked it up from the jump and everything. And if you look at some of these other countries that didn't go kicking and screaming into the fucking protocols and shit like that, they are well on their way to recovery and getting back to normal. While we, on the other hand, we can't fucking get on first base in terms of getting better.
Let me just say this, because I think this illustrates it so perfectly. I saw this article that Nature was posting out. Vietnam shares a goddamn border with China, a land border with China. They have close to 100 million people. It's not a small country. They have 0 reported COVID deaths. And so at Singapore, New Zealand, there's plenty of places that have done extremely well with this. It would have been wonderful if we could have, but we have examples that we could follow in order to mitigate some of this fucking travesty. We're just not following them because we're fucking stupid and we got a dumbass leader.
No, wait, Prodigy, but they have less freedoms than us, though.
Wait, they have less what?
I mean, for real, they have less freedoms than us.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Fucking idiots.
Okay.
Hey, anybody that's thinking that, fuck you, stop listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, you know what? You know what? The least amount of freedom you can have is when you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
139 million.
Not even that.
Oh, I'm sorry, 139,000 Americans no longer have any sort of freedom.
Yeah.
Any sort of freedom at all. They're fucking dead.
Well,
largely preventable.
You do have some freedom when you're dead because you can kind of do whatever you want in whatever afterlife you believe, but you don't have freedom
if
when
you believe in the afterlife. I don't.
Yeah, you don't have freedom when you're strapped to a fucking hospital bed with tubes down your throat, having a ventilator just pump oxygen in and out of your body, and you got to pee into a fucking bag because you can't fucking get out of the bed. Those are all your freedoms.
But Stitch, nobody that needed a ventilator didn't get a ventilator.
Oh,
what are you talking about, Stitch?
Dude,
everybody that needed one, they got one, and they died on them too.
Dude, even when you're dead, you're not really free because you got fucking bills to pay. You got to pay for funeral service and like death taxes and shit. You still got to pay.
Yeah. I mean, of course, because this. Yeah.
This fucking guy. Holy shit.
No.
The important things going on right now.
We're
about to get canceled.
Come on.
Yeah. Do some spots for Goya and beans and shit like that. We use my office presidency to promote fucking seasoning.
Well, you know what's funny about the Goya thing? Listen, if the president or whoever the fuck of Goya happens to like say, the president's doing great, I mean, okay, that's your own personal opinion. I mean, everybody that's trying to cancel Goya right now, you're probably not going to cancel. Well, let's be honest. Goya is going to be fucking fine. The president of Goya, whether or not he wants to bullshit up there saying how he's doing so great for, I hate saying the word Hispanic because where the fuck is Hispania? But I guess the Latinx community. Meanwhile, we have, thousands of fucking brown children from South America and Mexico in cages in America with aluminum foil over their fucking tiny bodies.
Yeah.
You want to ignore that and say that, President Trump is great. I mean, you're delusional. Fuck you. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want them to go out of business because of the president having to fuck up. But they need to recognize, like, listen, man.
Well, there's
kids that are still in fucking cages.
I went through and did,
so you can't say that he's doing great for your people.
Yeah, I went through and did some research on Goya, and they are the largest Latin-based company here in America, and they do a lot of charity for like Latin American stuff, like programs and things like that. But like, they said that the president's doing a good job, and I think what anger people is that like, to them he's doing a good job, but he's still doing the same. Like he's not treating Latin Americans or Latin people the way they should be treated. Like he said, with the whole occasion of them and stuff like that, and that's the thing that people are pissed off about. And the thing, like, people getting mad, like, oh, you shouldn't boycott them. They're helping your people and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, they're helping your people, but they're supporting somebody who doesn't help your people. So it's like...
Well, it's just the president, though. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask, like, the actual workers, they'd be like, yeah, fuck that guy. So
you're probably right. But here's my thing. Just like that president of Goya can say what he wants if he feels positive about President Trump, that could be his personal opinion. Consumers have every right and ability to say, fuck this brand, I don't want to buy it. And then in the age of social media, they can voice that opinion much more easily as well. So, if people don't want to buy it, I get that. If the president or if the chief in charge, the head is pro-Trump and he's proud of that, he has the freedom to do that. But sometimes there are some consequences. There can be some backlash with your consumers.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's probably like, honestly, you have the freedom to like buy whatever you want. If you're not comfortable with buying the product, I guess you're right. The freedom works both ways. But I don't know. I wish that people would. I don't know what President Trump is doing to these people. I don't know how much dirt he has on them. I don't know why they're saying these things about him when they're saying that, he's great in certain things where he's clearly not.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if there was let me give you a perfect example. If Mexico had facilities full of white children, thousands of white children, sleeping in those same conditions, we would go to war with Mexico.
Yep.
It would be not even a fucking question. Marines would be sent in there within hours if there were thousands of children held by the actual federal government of Mexico
in terrible conditions.
Yeah, come on, man. Like, this is totally fucked up. And if somebody wants to say, oh well, and I hate this shit. This shit fucking bothers me to no end because they try to like make it a left versus right thing. Oh well, President Obama did it. He was fucking wrong too. They can both be wrong. They can both be assholes. The story's about the children that are in cages, not about who the fuck happened to put them there. They should both be on charges for this shit as far as I'm concerned. Because it's fucking wrong. Yeah. And the fact that you think that it's okay because a guy on the left did it first, then it's okay for the guy on the right to do it, to keep doing the same thing, where the fuck are your morals at? Yeah. Like, seriously.
Especially, and I agree with that, especially if you claim to be, because this is what drives me absolutely crazy. You have these weird, fucked up racist morals, let's just call them what they are, and you still claim to be Christian. That's the part that fucking sends me through the roof, because I'm just like, how are you a Bible thumper and okay with brown people and black people being mistreated? And the thing I saw, it was actually some Facebook or Twitter post that really got me, saying, do Christian racists believe that there's segregation in heaven?
Oh, and wow.
That question, that fucking question made me laugh and like just stumble upon this this downward spiral of thought, because I would love to fucking know how they do those mental hurdles.
Well, they don't even. This is what
that hurt my heart. That hurt my heart right there.
With these dumbass religious people, and I'm gonna call you dumbasses because you're fucking stupid, because you don't even read your own material. All right, so people that want to talk about how religious they are and try to use their moral high grounds, I'll bring up some shit from the Old Testament, okay, where literally there's rules about how to keep slaves and how to keep women in certain, in certain ways, and when you can sell them off to your brother or some shit like that, and it's fucking bullshit. And I'm like, oh well, I don't believe in the Old Testament. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna throw out 10 Commandments. Good, I'm with you. So we'll go to the New Testament. All right, let's talk about Jesus. So you believe in a criminal that was literally went into a building flipping over tables because he didn't believe in what they were doing and kicked all these fucking priests out and took over this. You understand that story, right? So you're okay with revolutions. That's what he started, was a revolution. Jesus was a criminal and he got killed for starting a revolution. Mm-hmm. And you believe in him still, right? He's your guy, right? So why don't you understand the plight of people that are brown, which he was brown, all right? Yep. He was born in the fucking Middle East, so you have literally no excuse. He had feet of his skin was bronze and his hair was fucking of wool. But you don't read your own material because you're racist.
Yeah.
And you don't understand what the fuck. This is why most people of color are atheists, is because we read these fucking stories and they're fucked up.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't go with you on that. I would say the overwhelming majority of people of color in terms
Baptist.
of black and brown people.
Baptist or Methodist.
No. I'm saying no. I think you misheard me, or maybe I didn't put in the word. People of color that are atheists.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
The reason why we are atheists.
Yeah, it's the way you worded it. Okay.
In those books.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Don't get me wrong. I would love for more black and brown people to become atheists in my own selfish way. But yeah, I get you.
Read the material. Just read the material.
Yeah.
So with
all right.
Religion and people not knowing what the fuck they're talking about. Nick Cannon quoting.
Oh no!
Ooh, yeah.
Minister
Break
Farrakhan.
this down. Break this down, because I didn't quite understand the whole thing.
Well, I feel bad even trying to break this down because I've never really followed Minister Farrakhan and his sayings, just because I didn't agree with them just on the surface, so I never really dove in depth to what he was saying. I do know
you should
that.
Go back and listen to him now. It's very interesting. I was the same way. Go back and listen to what he's saying now. It's very interesting.
I
know it's hard, man. It was hard for me to do it too. But I was watching some shit in like the '90s, and I was just like, I can't fault what he's saying right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't everything. It wasn't everything.
Let me just set the table.
Yeah, break down the event.
Well, before that, Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, posted a quote from Minister Farrakhan that pretty much was saying blacks were the original Hebrews, I guess either original Hebrews or the original Jews of the world, and et cetera, and started quoting these really radical ass quotes and everything that Minister Farrakhan was saying, posted on his Instagram, and he got deep fried for him and everything. And
well, okay, so hold on. So let me break down part of what you just said. All right, so the first part that what you said is accurate. Like if you go to Ethiopia, there's Jews in Ethiopia that predate Jews that were in where are they at now? I mean,
Israel.
Yeah, in Israel. They predate Israel. So that aspect is mostly factual. So what it gets into is the part that you can't remember, and I guess that'd be the important part.
Well, for the Deshaun Jackson thing, I'm just giving a broad summary because in his quote, he's literally put on his Instagram. It says Hitler said blah 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 blah, and once you put Hitler said blah blah whatever it could be, Hitler said the sky is blue. Ain't nobody trying to hear it. Like just stop talking right there. So he got deep fried over that. Then I guess today Nick Cannon had somebody from Public Enemy, if I heard correctly, not Chuck D, not Flavor Flav.
Terminator X? That's the only other guy, right? There's two other guys?
Okay, well, when I read the article, I guess it had his real name, so I can't remember what his actual real name was, but
it's not Terminator X?
What's that?
I would assume it'd be him.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know his name is Terminator X. Whatever his
that'd be the dopest name ever, though. Like, yeah, the real name.
Well, whatever his birth name was in the article, that's what they quoted him as. But yeah, I guess him. They had some sort of interview on one of their satellite radio channels, and Nick Cannon sort of stepped in some more shit in terms of accrediting Jews for having all the power and controlling all the money and oppressing black people and blah 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 blah, and just going down that whole.
Hold on. Stitch, the guy that I think you're looking for is Professor Griff. He was a controversial hip hop with Nick Cannon about these comments.
Okay.
I don't think is he a part of Public Enemy?
Well,
anyway,
I'd have to look it up on my phone and everything, but as I do that, you guys chime in on that because I didn't see the whole thing.
Well, I know like Nick Cannon has been that poster boy for Hollywood. They always tease him about it. They don't tease about it, but like they always say like, oh yeah, like Nick Cannon's that safe black guy that you can have on your shows because Nick Cannon's been like on fucking everything, which doesn't make sense because first of all he's not fucking funny, and I don't know what kind of talent he has. But the guy shagged with Mariah Carey, which is probably like a lot of guys like 80s crush or whatever. But Yeah, with Nick Cannon, and the fact that like he's losing all of his gigs and stuff for something that he said or done is like it's pretty crazy because he's okay dude. Like he's not a bad guy. He's not out there like doing like racist things or beating up people.
Let me just give one caveat because I want to just be really clear before we get into any kind of other trouble as a blanket statement. Obviously, anti-Semitism is the same as racism, and it is completely wrong and inappropriate. I have not looked into his exact quotes.
I'm trying to find them.
But the way it was reported was that he was getting into some anti-Semitic statements. I know we don't support any of that. I know that's not cool. I know that that's racist. I know that that's wrong and foul. I just haven't done the research to see what he said. Fair?
Is Professor Richard or Professor Griff, who was a member of the hip hop group Public Enemy. I guess he was removed or left the group at some sort of time, but I guess he was with Public Enemy at one point in time. So that's the Public Enemy tie to it, with the guy who he was speaking with.
So what was,
I don't know what he said.
what was either the point or the gist of what he was actually trying to say? Was he trying to say something like Jews are evil or white people are evil, or what was the issue? Because he got canceled quick.
Yeah, he did. He basically, it looks as if they talked about the black people or the true Hebrews, and talked about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories involving the Rothschild family.
I see him apologizing, but I don't see what the fuck he said. I mean, obviously, if he's anti-Semitic, then yeah, I'm not no support there at all. But
just a brief thing on what
he said.
A brief thing on what I'm seeing pulled up. I don't have the full entire sort of interview, but one of the quotes that it cited says, "You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people." Another quote from the episode, he said, "When we are the same people they want us to be, that's our birthright." Cannon was quoted saying black people were the true Hebrews, et cetera, and sort of things of that nature.
So just let me say a full blanket statement again. There are some, and I've met some of them, which is really disturbing, but there are some anti-Semitic people that look just like us. And I'd say that they are equally as wrong and offensive and racist. And that's just not cool or okay in any circumstance. I also, and we've talked about it on this show as well, but I also don't understand this need to find a scapegoat of Jewish people when there's so much history, and we've gone on many episodes about this in this country of oppression that's overt and legal that's gone on against black people by Europeans, European Americans, whatever you want to call them, for so many years. It's a weird. This sounds like he was out of pocket, at least from the way you guys are summarizing it.
Yeah, it seems that it was promoting more a sort of Jewish conspiracy rhetoric in terms of like Jews sort of having an Illuminati and controlling the world, et cetera, et cetera.
To me, it's super disappointing. And again, I hate, we talk about, I don't want to play the oppression Olympics or whatever, black folks and Native Americans and people of Jewish descent. But of course, the Jews have a very traumatic history of oppression all over the world that you can go back to, not just Germany, but plenty of countries and places.
Even here in America.
Yeah,
I mean, they weren't treated fair until quote unquote white culture welcomed them because they looked enough like them.
Yeah,
like they were treated like shit for a long time here in America too.
Well, and even we talked about it. What was it? 2 years ago in Pittsburgh, you had the shooting up of a synagogue and a literal hate crime, and you've seen a rise of hate crimes against Jews, not only Jews, black people, Muslims, Mexicans as well, but there's been a rise in hate crimes, and they've been included in that. That's not okay.
Yeah. I think I've said it for the longest time on this podcast. I don't understand how, European Americans or white people in general, what fucking problem they have with Jews. Like, I really don't understand what the problem is with I guess I'm gonna have to like break it down. I mean, you'd be racist as fuck, obviously, but you can try to break down to me like what your problem is with Jewish people, like how they've wronged you in your life and your people. But from all the research I've done up until this day, I don't see how there's some evil ass people. I really don't.
One thing I can think of is that Jewish people killed their God, and that's just a Family Guy reference.
But that is see, even that doesn't make sense because it was for their sins, right? Because if you want to get into it, it's like it's part of your own like weird history. So
actually, I'm gonna call bullshit on that because again, I know the fucking Bible.
Yeah,
the Roman Empire controlled the entire region, and the Romans decided who fucking lived or died, and those were the Romans were Italians, which were Europeans. So I'm sorry, a lot of this seems like convenient scapegoat bullshit. And there's real issues going on. There always have been real issues going on without creating this fictional mythology scapegoat of finding a group, a small group, a minority group, and trying to say, oh, these guys are evil and they're controlling things. No, man, come on now. And you're a multimillionaire who's been a multimillionaire for 2 or 3 decades.
Yeah, well, this is. I mean, I had to get into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to just a quick tangent. We just talked about the anti-Semitic stuff that was going on based off the video game, The Last of Us Part 2, because there's a part in the game where you go to an abandoned synagogue, and then Neil Druckmann gets a bunch of hate. He literally is called Jewish racial slurs based on, I guess, him either supporting or making the game or whatever. Like, there's still this kind of hatred out there, even virtually, which is still funky to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just bring it down to, like, just factual information. If you can show me, like, a history in the past 100 years of where Jewish people have killed people indiscriminately, how they oppressed people, how they purposely cheated people, like, you would have some sort of argument there. But from what I've seen in history, and I've done, like, especially recently, pretty extensive research in the history of the fucking world, none of that shit exists. You know, even beyond past 100 years. I didn't see a Jewish slave master here in America that enslaved my people. What I saw was a bunch of fucking so-called Christians, which to me, they weren't even fucking Christians. They're just evil-ass fucking people.
And
but I don't understand the hate for the Jewish people, and to this day, nobody can explain to me how they're so evil.
Yeah, and real quickly too, they've even had a substantial portion go shoulder to shoulder with people like MLK and Rosa Parks during the civil rights movement, and some of them have been lawyers and financial contributors during those causes. There's been a lot of solidarity traditionally with the Black community and the Jewish community because of oppression they've both experienced. Yeah. I like building bridges with other communities. I don't like trying to do this scapegoating, evil, anti-Semitic shit of trying to blame somebody. No, I think there's things we can learn from history. I think there's things that we can learn from other communities. And I think that there shouldn't be this petty jealousy either. There should be more of, let's work together for human rights. This is disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm disturbed.
The quote that Deshaun Jackson put up, and it was a screenshot of a passage from a book, and I'll just read it real quick. It says, Hitler said, quote, "Because the white Jews know that the Negroes are the real children of Israel, and to keep America the secret, the Jews will blackmail America. They will extort America. Their plan for world domination won't work if the Negroes know who they are. The white citizens of America will be terrified to know that all this time they've been mistreating and discriminating and lynching the children of Israel. After I die, will one day cause World War III by just this message, and like planting a seed in people's minds until it sprouts. Once they nurture that seed, it will seek more truth and learn that Hitler was right." Yeah, you can't say
that's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, that was
stupid as fuck.
Yeah, that's why he got fried.
Damn.
Yes,
he deserved to get fried.
Yeah, Steven Jackson came to his defense and was just like, "Oh, well, you need to look into that, blah, blah, blah. I don't see what was wrong.
Nah.
He got fried too. He jumped into that hot oil.
Well, this is the problem. All right, so this is what I mean. Jesus Christ! Even when like Kendrick Lamar was talking about the Black Israelites and stuff like that, this comes back to like I think it's the same sort of deal. Is that yes, there is a very small sect of Jewish people in Ethiopia. I think this is where they're all going back to, and just because that small sect exists doesn't mean that the pale-skinned Jews are out. Has any fucking Israeli gone to Ethiopia or anywhere in Africa and started killing black folks for being Jewish, for being the wrong people? No. You know what I mean? I don't. So for them to have like this weird conspiracy theory of, you know, white Jew versus black Jew, that shit doesn't exist. It literally does not exist. What I do see though is motherfuckers wearing Confederate flags and Nazi fucking flags, killing my people and their people.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck I see. That's actual reality.
Yeah.
That's where the fuck I live.
Yeah. The same modern day Klansmen going into black churches and going into Jewish synagogues. You know?
Yeah, shooting them up, blowing them up, and shit like that.
So I didn't know this, but anti-Semitic means discrimination against Jews. I thought anti-Semitic was just being fucking evil, basically. Like I didn't know actually was like a race, like against an actual race of people.
Yeah.
So anybody who didn't know that, now you know.
And
well, it's weird because go ahead.
I was just again going to reiterate. It's not cool, and it's really small-minded thinking. These are people who have not done enough reading, have not interacted with enough people, and just are looking to find someone to blame, especially if you happen to be successful and happen to be of this certain ethnic group. Oh, then that means so is doing this evil Illuminati shit. Come on now, be smart.
I can't fuck with Farrakhan in any way. Like I just.
So I need to research. So what I saw recently, because I remember before I couldn't fuck with Farrakhan like at all, and then I saw like some recent stuff of like what he said, and like what I saw, it had to do with like specific black issues, where I was just like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But if he said like anti-Semitic shit, which I will look into. I'm not going to discount what you said at all. But if he's like totally anti-Semitic,
oh yeah,
I can't fuck with that either.
You haven't seen so there's documented videos of him being very, very anti-Semitic and blaming.
Yeah,
and he literally Minister Louis Farrakhan literally talks about Illuminati. He talks about how the Jews were basically taking black people's wealth. Like it's been documented.
No, okay,
and homophobia as well. He's very
for me that's
homophobic.
Zero tolerance then for any of that. What I will tell you though is that this is what is beautiful about living here in the Bay Area. And I'm going to get into how I would fix, because somebody asked me today, somebody said to me today, this is why I said like the whole white people being exhausting thing. It's because they were talking about how racism will always be around. You can never get rid of it. Yes, fuck we can. You can't because you're a fucking racist. Anyway, when I was a kid living in Alameda, might have been like 6, 7 years old, and a kid across the street from me, he was a Jewish kid. His name was Johnny. I forget his last name. I wish we would reconnect now. And we played he was like one of my best friends, like growing up. I got to actually learn about like Hanukkah and shit like that, and like the Jewish thing. It was like cool because at the time I was a Christian, and we got the exchange, the whole cultural exchange thing. Because obviously he was a white Jewish kid. Because yes, there are different colors of Jewish people. It's not just white people. But we had we definitely exchanged a lot of cultural stuff, and it was excellent. And I think that one of the ways here in America, so in California, especially here in the Bay Area, we are really privileged in a way that if you live in most parts in any part pretty much of the Bay Area, we're so diverse here. All right, so it's hard to be like real racist here. Unless like you just grew up on racist shit. You know what I mean? But when
you gotta try to be racist.
Yeah, you got to put forth an effort because you get to see everybody like on a daily basis, see how they live. You become friends as a kid, then you're normalized to their cultures. Like I got normalized to Jewish, Mexicans, fucking any fucking ethnicity you want to put out there. It was normalized to me at a young age. So I didn't have a problem with the way anybody looked or their culture because I was already used to their culture. And I think that what could help here in America, if you think that we will always be racist, this is my idea, and this is actually Andrew Yang's idea, is to have an American exchange program. All right, so what we do is we take people that are in rural communities and urban communities when they're young and in school ages, and we actually do an exchange program in those communities so they can see diverse people around them instead of just seeing people like them, because America has put on like this spell on people. We are more segregated right now than we've ever been at any other point in time. And most people don't understand that. Like, you can go to like parts of Michigan or Nevada or just name any other place except for like what? California, New York, fucking maybe Texas. Washington. Yeah, maybe Texas. And even there it's like it's segregated. You know what I mean? In most parts of the country, it's like you interact with people that look like you exclusively. So it's easy for you to have the boogeyman out there because you have no idea how they grew up or what their culture actually is. And I think if we had an American exchange program, it would drastically reduce racism in America, because racists breed other racists because they teach them that those people are bad. But once you get to interact with those people and you see that they're just like you, you're way less likely to be racist. Way less likely to be racist.
So you just literally described what happened with Pat O'Reilly and Al Sharpton. So Al Sharpton invited Pat O'Reilly to a restaurant in Harlem, and he accepted. When he went, he enjoyed himself. He said the food was good, everything was great. But when he reported back, he was like, he had expectations that because it was in Harlem, that it was going to be rat infested, that it was going to be dirty, that the food was going to be gross, and none of that was true. And that's why Al Sharpton did what he did, is he wanted to show Pat that just because it's in a certain place doesn't mean it's going to be filthy. I'm like, dude, even if it was, they would have been shut down. New York would not let that place operate under those conditions.
Well,
for the most part.
Places. Al Sharpton's not going to take them there.
I was just going to say, and Stitch knows this, being in the tri-state area too, New York has some shithole places too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They definitely have some rat problem, roach problem, nasty ass.
And that's what Al Sharpton or no, Pat
you could be in Manhattan. You could be in Manhattan and just seeing rats just chilling, rolling down the street, flagging down a cab.
Well, now it's even crazier. Have you seen that shit?
To piggyback off what Kona said about the whole like, I guess the urban area exchange program. Like, we kind of had that already, but it's only a one-way road. Basically, we take inner city kids and we allow them to go to like high, like they can go to basically white schools where they get to learn things better. But it's never done the opposite way around. We don't have like white kids from super high income areas going down to low income areas and seeing how life is there. So it's always been a one-way road for people.
Can I just say this? I love the idea. Don't get me wrong. I also think, going back to something that we've done as a group of friends with our ethnic food nights, there's something about eating food or even going to a cultural celebration, like we went to Holi Fest and whatnot.
Holy, yeah.
Yeah, Holy. If you experience some other cultures and talk to some people openly about their food and customs, 9 times out of 10 that you have that what I call the Bourdain effect, Anthony Bourdain effect, where you have a deeper appreciation for them. You know what I mean? And I tell you what, if you find a good Jewish deli, God damn, you have struck gold, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Those delicatessens are legit as if you're a cold cut fan like myself.
Oh yeah. Really good spot, especially if they make you a sandwich on the spot and they ask you how you want it and they do it exact. Oh man, you're going back there 11 times.
It's crazy how you mentioned the whole you should try out other cultures, because like when I went to Japan for the first time, like man, it was a culture shock for me. Like seriously, so growing up as a kid, if you were drinking super something and you slurp, your mom would be like, hey, stop slurping your drink. That's disrespectful or whatever. But in Japan, it's like the other way around. Like they want you to slurp because that's like a sign that you think the food is delicious to the chef. And I'm literally sitting there eating ramen noodles, trying to slurp the hardest, the best that I can. I couldn't even fake it. I was like, like I couldn't fucking do it. Like I ended up fucking choking on my food, but like people around were just slurping their food, and I'm like, wow, like this, like to me, it was disgusting that they were slurping, but that's just because of the way I was raised. But like knowing that they're slurping because they're showing like respect to the chef was like, wow, like this is fucking crazy. So that's why you really need to get out and experience different cultures and see how other people live.
Did they have the same feelings when it was eating pussy? Sorry.
It was,
Yeah, you gotta get in there. I mean, what's crazy to me is I've gotten into arguments with people, and it's just like, this is why I said the whole exhausting thing, is because literally there was an argument I got into on Facebook, and I literally could have written down the likely responses of what was going to happen in this conversation, and took a timestamp, took a picture, and I would have been exactly right. Like seriously, I was just like, they're the weakest fucking arguments for shit. Like, oh, I work with black people. Okay,
do you talk to them?
That's great. You work with black people. Okay, do you know the names of their kids? Have you ever went to lunch with them? Do you know what they're all about? You know what I mean? Just because you happen to be in the same building as somebody doesn't mean you know shit about them.
Yeah.
So shut the fuck up.
It means
like,
you have
seriously.
desegregation at your workplace.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're not fucking, that you don't have any sort of racial issues.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't stand that shit. Like, oh, I have black friends. It's like, that the whole black friend thing too is just like, when's the last time you saw him?
Yeah.
When's the last time you talked to him? When's the last time you ate with them? I guess now it's a little bit different because you can't do it with nobody, or you shouldn't anyway. But it's just like they are your excuse to get out of the whole I'm not racist thing. That's your pass, but it's not a pass.
Can I go one step further? I've even seen it, and it's super ugly, but I've seen it with some adult actresses that actually do scenes like on Black Patrol and whatnot, and some of the stuff. And even they, who will do scenes with black men, have been talking crazy racist stuff sometimes and being like, I don't get down with it. I'm like, you do scenes with black people, but you still don't have any connection.
I think Ella talked about that on one of her podcasts, didn't she?
I thought I was making it up, but yeah, I think Ella, she touched on that subject, how like, there's actresses out there who won't do black sex scenes just because they don't want to be with a black person, or if they do it, it's like, they just basically did it for the money or some shit. We're gonna have her on pretty soon, and we can definitely discuss that with her. But that means she doesn't talk about that.
It's just like things to now are just like, it's really highlighting how many people are racist and they don't even realize, and they have like all these layers of excuses. And once you point those out, there's only like a certain amount of like responses that they'll do, and it's usually like disengage, get super angry, or point out how I'm wrong.
Yeah, so
for pointing out the racism. That's like the top three.
Prodigy,
you know what I mean?
Were you calling out a specific adult film star? I think I know who you're talking about too, because she's been out on Twitter.
I can't remember specific names, but it's more than one or two.
The one that I know was Brandy Love, because she was out there talking crazy. Or not talking crazy, but people were like, well, what are you doing if you don't support Black Lives Matter and you think that there may be a terrorist group, but yet you're doing all these interracial scenes? It's like weird. Yeah, and then Ella Darling she also talked about how the girls that do interracial, they ask for more money. And it's like, she's like, what are you doing? Like, why do you need to get paid more money for doing this scene?
Yeah.
I think she did. She talked about a thing about like doing shit during Black History Month too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fucked up too, because it's like, wow, really?
Oh my fucking god, man!
Like talking about Black History, but you're getting this current black dick. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Hey, anyway. Old Ninja. What's going on with this? Sorry to switch gears on y'all, but what's going on with this bad bitch of a Star Wars? What is this? Bad bitch?
Bad bitch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Damn. Yeah, it's basically a spin-off of the most recent season of Clone Wars. So there's a batch of clones they're not quite right, but they're way more individual than the rest, and they have different skills. And so they're going to have their spin-off series, which will be in 2021. No specific date from Disney and Lucasfilm, but they just said sometime in 2028. So since we're under the pandemic, they're able to do animation and like from home or work in like a GitHub type environment and share their work. So we'll be able to get some animation probably late next year. I would imagine, but we'll see. I mean, the Bad Batch was actually one of the better parts of the final season. There was some other stuff that just wasn't cutting it with fans, like the whole Ahsoka and the 1313 part. No one gave a shit about that. The Bad Batch was cool because it was early on and they had some interesting personalities, but it'll be interesting to see what's going to go on. I mean, basically, it's just going to be more Clone Wars, which I'm all for, by the way, because Clone Wars went out with the very, very like cinematic and emotional ending, which I think Dave Filoni did a great job. So
sounds like you Christ-baited to it.
Almost, I came pretty close. Pretty close. Okay. It's pretty bad.
Did anybody check out this? We talked about it last week briefly, but God of High School.
No, yes. I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
I watched both episodes that are out.
Nice. What'd you think, Ronos?
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It's really interesting. It's like it's action packed, and it's basically a tournament. It's a tournament martial art anime, and it's based on a webtoon that Crunchyroll picked up, and they're animating. So it's a Crunchyroll original. And it seems pretty cool. Like it's funny because like when they show one of the arenas, it has like the Crunchyroll logo and the webtoon logo on it. But yeah, I mean the action scenes they're pretty good. It's only like 2 episodes in. I'm digging it.
Yeah, the buzz is real. I still need to finish off the second episode. I like the fighting. You know what I mean? Fighting action. They got a little bit of humor in there. I think this one's going to be a hit if they keep up the same momentum. But I'm down. It's good to see a new series getting some love and some fandom right off the bat.
Do they have Unicorn Amy in it?
Oh
no. But Mira's in it.
No, but do they have the? I wonder if they have their animated character in the. Because you know how like Crunchyroll has like their like Fox Girl or whatever for their logo or for their mascot. I wonder if she might be in it because that'd be kind of cool to see like their logo. Like it'd be kind of cool to see our character. So if you don't know Black and Black Times Indy, our logo, we have a black guy yelling to a mic. It'd be kind of cool to see that character as like a live cartoon animation to see like, oh shit, like this is an actual person or whatever. But I wonder if they do that for this God of High School.
The BT guy.
We might need. We got some contacts over there. We might need to holler at them because I tell you what, they have gotten down with the rapper Megan Thee Stallion. They got a whole clothing line endorsed by Crunchyroll and her.
You heard what happened with her?
Yeah, didn't she get shot?
Yeah, she got like shot in the foot or some shit.
God.
Sorry, it's like
in her pinky toe?
No, she
shot her pinky. Shot her pinky toe off.
Come on now.
Yeah, how you get shot in the toe?
Who shot her?
I don't know. It was
Eddie Murphy. It was Eddie Murphy, obviously. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Did she cheddar bomb herself?
And if y'all don't understand these jokes that I'm saying right now, please go watch Harlem Nights.
Yeah. God damn. No, but I mean, I don't. First of all, she looks amazing, and I like her the fact that she's very proud with her weebdom and always is promoting her favorite anime characters and shit.
So you have a new Doja Cat?
Yeah. Well, I still don't quite understand all the canceling of Doja. We talked about it, but we couldn't find the exact source. But you know, I still like Doja Cat videos. I should and her music. So you know, maybe I'll get canceled. Who knows?
Yeah.
You been canceled, bro. What you talking about?
Real quick. I saw it was on the little docket thing. Wonder Years.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Wonder Years fan. I've watched that entire series multiple times. I remember the first time I got to the very end, I remember crying at the end when I found out like Kevin's was it his mom or his dad died when he was, at the very end, like that series definitely struck a chord. It's very nostalgic with it. But a reboot of it, same time period, but with a black, I guess, family growing up in the 60s. It's supposed to take place in Montgomery, Alabama. And at first, I was kind of like, no, I don't want this. But I saw that Fred Savage, who plays Kevin Arnold, he signed on to produce it. And I forget the name of the other writer, producer with it, but it seems to be legit. It's not just some people that just came out of left field and just like, yo, we're going to make Black Wonder Years and everything. It actually seems like that they are respecting it seems like they're actually respecting the original show and not just swapping the character around, making them black and everything. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing.
No, so I'm gonna disagree. I mean, yeah, it's cool that Fred Savage is like setting off on it and all that stuff, but I don't like that they're using a show that was successful back in the day. That obviously they're basically riding the coattails of a show that was about other people into this, and it's not, to me, it's not gonna be related at all. I'd much rather see an original black story that's not connected to a story with with white people. I don't like that in America to possibly have a successful show that we need to have disconnected to that. Like it'd be like if they had like a different world, but all of a sudden, it's full of white people now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's just like, why the fuck are we gonna do that?
I'm kind of in the fence on this one, and there's no trailer out. But here's my feeling: The Wonder Years was an '80s into the '90s show because it was on for a long time, right? Wasn't it a late '80s?
That's when it came out. It was
in the '80s. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Time frame.
But here's my point. I feel like the late '80s looking back on the '60s is very different from a 2020, 2021 looking back on the '60s. It's a different type of nostalgia, and maybe that is possibly too far back. In a weird way. I feel like we look at the '60s differently than we did in the 1980s. But I was a kid as well.
Yeah. Hold on, Prodigy. I think actually the '60s right now would actually be pretty, if it's done the right way. All right, because obviously it's gonna be a totally different show. It has to be a totally different show.
But yeah,
than what the Wonder Years was. Because like the '60s, if you were black, is way different from the '60s if you were white. I mean,
sure,
historically.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I had the right thing.
Okay, but it's still, I don't like that they're calling it the Wonder, because it wasn't a fucking Wonder Year for black people in the fucking '60s. It wasn't.
Yeah. It's gonna have a different tone.
I don't know if they're calling it the Wonder Years and everything. So I don't know if that's the actual name of it. I don't remember where in the United States Kevin Arnold's story took place at. I know it was suburbia, and it was not in Montgomery, Alabama. I do know from what. Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, I thought it was in the Northeast, not in New York City proper, but I thought it was in the Northeast because he was a Jets fan.
That's what I can't remember, because he was a big Namath fan. He had the little Jets jacket on that he would always wear, but I couldn't remember if there was anything specific that said, yeah, we are actually here, and I have to sort of go through my memory on the show.
So it looks like it was,
from my understanding,
might have taken place in 2 locations. It could have been California or it could have been New York.
It was probably Long Island, but go ahead.
Some had New York.
So I know there was some connection with California because the daughter went off to college in California. I don't know if she maybe went up north and everything during like the Vietnam aspect of stuff. But this, from everything that I've read, that this story isn't going to intertwine with Kevin Arnold's story. They're not going to have like little Easter eggs to show that they were in the same area at the same time. It's just that time period, which I do think is unique in showing that there are 2 different Americas that were taking place from the white perspective of the Wonder Years and everything, and then the black perspective of the civil rights era. Now, obviously, when you use the term Wonder Years, you look at it like great time and everything, and that was obviously not the case. Colored people in Montgomery, Alabama. I mean, we talked about it with Mama French and everything about stuff that was going on during that time period, that exact time period in that area of the country. So I am interested to see what they're going to talk about. I don't know if they're just going to boilerplate and just be like, oh, we're going to make it, what's it called? Everybody hates Chris, except throw it back in the 60s and everything. I don't have that feel, and I think that what's it called? Fred Savage has a lot more respect for the actual, I don't want to call it a franchise, but the actual show that he was a part of and pretty much is a staple for who he is, than to just sort of remove the cheese off the pizza and put new toppings on it.
Can I say one quick thing? I think one of the hopeful examples in recent history that we talked about ad nauseum last year was Watchmen. Nobody expected where Watchmen was going to come from with that. You don't get a sense of that with the comics. You didn't get a sense of that with the movie and whatnot. Sometimes you can take an established franchise, put a very different twist on it, and come up with something extremely interesting. I hope it's more like a Watchmen twist of something very original, but it does use the label, than it is a rehashing.
I can agree with that. Like if they had, especially with the right directors and, you know, the right actors, well, like not to be young actors, so that's kind of relevant. But the correct writers and directors would need to be attached to this for me to really get on board. And you definitely cannot call it the Wonder Years.
Yeah,
it's like this is something that, like, I mean, just for people that are listening to this, like when people say the whole MAGA thing, make America great, just remember that if you're black or of other minority groups, when are you talking about when was America great for you?
Yeah.
Besides, a couple of years ago, even today, like when was it that great for us? So you can't say make America great again when it was historically pretty fucking shitty for a large portion of America.
Agreed.
So if they make this show, they need to show like it's going to be way heavier than the original Wonder Years, because it's going to be super fucking dripping with racism and inequality. And if they go that route, then yeah, I'm on board. But don't fucking sugarcoat what people went through in the 60s to make it seem like, our version of reality in America is exactly the same as, the white culture version of America, because it was vastly different.
I also, people that are listening, that the Wonder Years did have some heavy shit that went on in that show. For example, Winnie's not to say that you were trying to say it was all kitty and whatever. Winnie's brother died in Vietnam, if I remember correctly. That was something that was discussed. There was a big thing about Kevin's brother going off to war, and like the father was just like, you are not fucking doing that, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, the daughter's name was Karen, I believe. Karen wanted to sort of go on this whole flower power hippie trip out to California and everything. So they did talk about a lot of things that were going on in the country historically. I don't remember specifically what civil rights stuff that was touched on. That's something
probably nothing.
The only civil rights thing I can remember is Milhouse never got laid.
Fife Dog. No, dude, as much as Danica McGellar is hot as fuck, she was a cunt on that show. Like, she was a complete bitch. Fuck her. She did Kevin so dirty, and I felt so bad for Kevin. She was just like cock blocking him, but wouldn't let him sniff the panties either. Yeah. And it was just completely embarrassing how he turned Kevin into a simp.
I mean, the whole like Vietnam thing. I mean, obviously that's heavy stuff, but there were still like lynchings.
Yeah.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
We didn't have full rights in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, those are serious issues that, I mean, America does need to be woken up to. And if they do it the right way and they make it like a whole, like, hey, this is real American history, then yeah, I'm on board. But if they try to sugarcoat that shit at all, they can all go fuck themselves.
Well, like to kind of jump on on Netflix, they have that series or that movie or documentary, The 13th, and there was a part in that where actually wasn't. Actually, I think somebody. I don't know if it was actually. I don't know if it was on The 13th or it's something I saw on like Now This, where there was some black kids and they were riding their bikes. I think this took place in the 60s, and they're riding their bikes, and like some white people came up and was like telling them to get out of their neighborhood, and like some were throwing rocks and like they were saying like super racial slurs, and it's like little black girl, they were like interviewing her, and she had talked about how like how this one white kid had threw a rock at her sister and missed her, but like if it would have hit her, she'd have been so mad I should have picked up the rock and threw it back at him, and like this is video footage of like people like being racist and like telling like these kids who are just riding their bikes because they're trying to go to like the park or whatever. Like if they don't show stuff like that, then like they're definitely gonna be sugarcoating shit.
That was a very special episode of Stranger Things.
No, there was no Demi Gore.
Negro wasn't fucking around. That was in the 70s though, wasn't it? Stranger Things.
No, that was the 80s. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the location for like where the Wonder Years took place, and a little interesting tidbit was that the Wonder Years won an Emmy for Best Comedy 6 episodes in. After they produced 6 episodes into their entire run, and they got an Emmy just off 6 episodes. That's fucking
It was
crazy.
a great show.
Yeah.
Guys, do you want to do any B and BTIs or wrap this up? Or
actually, I got one quick beat in MTI, which is kind of related to the show I watched. So, like I talked about Palm Springs earlier, where a guy got stuck in a time loop where he kept repeating the same fucking day. So, if you were stuck in a time loop for today, what would you change to make difference, or what kind of crazy shit would you be down to do? If you were stuck in today, just today, no certain days, just today, what crazy shit would you do differently, or what shit would you fuck around with?
I would have had sex today. I would have said fuck work all day. Well, not all day, but most of the day. That didn't happen because I had to work, and so did she. So yeah.
I don't even know. I can't even think anything like creative or funny. I mean, today was a pretty chill day for me. Just fucking filled up the kiddie pool with water and just watched the baby just pretend like she was swimming and splash around in it. So I mean, I could do that every day.
There you go. What you got, Old Ninja? Are you with us, Old Ninja?
Oh yeah, I was on mute. I muted when I didn't talk. But yeah, there's some legal stuff I needed to check in on, and I postponed it till tomorrow. But I probably would have thrown that in there today just to find out what's going on. And then there's this really good hot dog place called Dog House that I've been frequenting. Yeah, I probably would have chose a different hot dog. I mean, that's literally like kind of the highlights of the day. Today was a chill day. I didn't really do much. I'm off of work, and then I did some gaming. It's kind of about it. I mean,
Dog House is pretty good.
Yeah, Dog House. It's actually for the prices that they charge and what they give you. I think is reasonable.
Yeah, they got.
I'm a Top Dog in Berkeley kind of guy, so fuck what you talking about.
Wait, what? Yeah. You like to hide your hot dog? Wait, what? What's
Top
going
dog.
on over there?
Top Dog. No, no, not a bottom.
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Power bottom.
Voodoo dogs?
Freddie, what's your moment for today?
Dude, I would literally carve out some more time to watch some One Piece with the kids and actually catch up on finish some games in my backlog, man. What about you? What about you, Blue?
So today, I actually had an incident that happened. I drove into this apartment complex just because like their driveway is kind of like off a street here in Hayward. And I was curious to see what the hell the street went down. And as I drove by this one guy, like he was walking his dog off the leash. And the guy I had my windows down because I don't have my AC. Today was a nice day. It was a nice cool day, so there was no reason to have like the AC on in my car, and having the window down was cool. But when I passed him, he was like I could clearly hear him say like, really? And I look in my room mirror and he's like, really? Like, I'm like, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like, you were off to the side, your dog was in the fucking grass. Like, what the fuck is your goddamn problem? And like, I wish I wanted to stop and be like, really what? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, how did I offend you? Or what the fuck the issue is? Like, I kind of wish I would have stopped and find out like what the fuck this guy was talking about. But I was like, yeah, fuck it. I don't want to be caught up in nigger moments, so I just kept on driving.
All right. On that fucking.
Hold on, no. One last thing. I would have read my comics today.
There you go.
Because there's obviously today's comic book day. I picked up my comics, but because of COVID-19, I have to wait at least 2 days to read comics, which means usually next fucking week I start reading the comics that are from this week. So I have to delay all my comic reading by at least 2 fucking days, which usually means a goddamn week. So yeah, I would have read the comics today because I wouldn't have been worried about fucking getting COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Stitch, what you got popping this week?
Started just chilling, enjoying the hot weather while it lasts and everything. Think I'm gonna work on the whole Tiger Woods treatment and get my Storm to be a professional swimmer just because she loves being in the water and splashing. So I fill up the kiddie pool, get a beer, and I just sit there and let her splash around and grab little rubber ducks. So it's really low maintenance, high entertainment for me. So I've been thoroughly enjoying that. On a side thing, I saw something that was really cool. I saw the Oakland Zoo opened up. I believe it was today or maybe tomorrow. They're going to be opening back up, which is really cool because they were in real danger financially of being just completely fucked. So
me and Bob, I
was going to the zoo. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I'm because obviously I ain't trying to be in a mass. Real happy that they seem to be hopefully on the road to recovery. And then I saw one of the really cool, well, I'll just say it how I say it. I saw one of the coolest like officer involved shootings videos that I saw on like Police One, where this female officer, I don't know her name, I just know it was in Michigan, but she handled her business so fucking good. I was like really, really impressed with she had a malfunction in her firearm where a guy was coming at her with a knife, fired off a couple rounds and then her gun jammed. I don't know if it was a double feed or just a stovepipe jam where it ejects but it doesn't fully eject and like the slide catches it. But while this dude was rushing at her with the knife, she was able to just go back to her training and just like tap, roll, and then rack her gun and then just continue to fire and everything like that. And it was just like really smooth.
Hold on. What do you guys call it?
We would say tap, roll, rack.
Oh, that's interesting. In the military, or this in the Marine Corps, we call it tap, rack, bang.
Okay, yeah. They did say that version of it. They had us incorporate roll. That way, gravity would work on your side when you're racking it, just to help the spent cartridge sort of fall out if it was like a stovepipe malfunction and everything. But she was just fire, jam. You hear it's like not working, and she was just like boom, click, turn to the side, click, and then continue back just instantly. And I was just like, God damn, this chick, straight business. And it was one of the really cool things to see. I don't know if the guy lived or died or not. Don't really mean to sound callous, but I don't really care. But she seemed to be okay professionally, and it was really cool to see someone's training kick in a really stressful situation and handle our business.
I mean, that's cool, but have you seen the way Japan deals with people with knives?
No.
It's pretty hilarious, but it's kind of embarrassing for the person with the knife. If somebody gets combative, and so in most Japan, like most of the police officers, they don't even have a fucking gun. But what happens is if somebody is like out there wielding a knife, they basically have what looks like a big mattress, and they just wrap them up with a mattress, and they tie up the mattress, and they take them to jail.
Yeah, I've seen that shit.
It's fucking hilarious.
That's crazy.
All right, Blue, what you got?
So I'm still continuing playing my guitar lessons, but check out this goddamn pick I got.
Nice.
Which is pretty fucking dope. You know, I had to get one, so I got a Batman fucking pick. So, but I'm continuing to learn how to play the guitar, which is kind of cool. I finished up. So I'm doing a career change, so I finished up one of my programs. So like I think I gotta do more reading so I can get certified for my CompTIA. I can't think of the word, but my A+.
CompTIA.
Yeah, CompTIA. My CompTIA A+. I'm gonna get certified in that. But actually, I had a job hit me up to do some stuff based off of my experience already. So hopefully, I might hear good news regarding that sometime this week. But yeah, just that, and like hopefully I need to start training our new dog because I kind of been lackluster with her training. She's kind of been like doing whatever she wants, but she needs to like really get trained like Charlie. But she leaves my room. But other than that, continuing yard work because last week I cut down a tree, which was a lot of fun. Not really, but it was still kind of fun to chop down a fucking tree. But yeah, I still got a bunch of yard work I want to try to do. But other than that, just chilling, relaxing, drinking. That's it.
Good shit, Cronus. What you got?
All right, so I would like to say, it's probably what I should have said in the beginning of the podcast, is thank you to Nicole for joining me in my last podcast of Cronus Rants with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. And what's hilarious, which I kind of want to make a joke of when we were doing the podcast, but I forgot, is that the first thing that I went to was she was a vegan. And I was like, you couldn't wait 10 goddamn minutes to tell everybody you were a vegan. But yeah, it's all good. We had a good conversation about being a vegan and a bunch of other stuff. It's a good podcast. If y'all check it out, it's like the last one that we did. Also, Pliny for President. If you're watching the podcast.
Oh shit! Nice.
So, yeah, they made a Pliny beer for the presidential election coming up.
Have you tried it yet, or no?
Not yet. I was gonna drink it just now,
Okay.
but it's a 16-ounce beer, and I don't want to get our beer now. Well, we drink it too late. It gives me fucking gas.
Did you get that through that one beer app you were telling us about?
No, I didn't get it to Tavor. So I actually ordered it straight from Russian River because they were doing the Black is Beautiful beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going to buy a bunch of Black is Beautiful, but I decided to instead get like a pack. And I thought that I was going to get more Black is Beautiful in that pack than I got. I got 24 beers, but only 4 of them were Black is Beautiful. So I'm going to order some more from probably somewhere else because they kept selling out really quickly.
So wait, how was Black is Beautiful? Did you like it? I don't think you ever said if you liked it or not.
Yeah, it was really good. It's a really good stout. It's potent. It's boozy. It's smooth, chocolatey, vanilla-y. It's a good beer. Also, for book people out there, today Neil Gaiman released Sandman on Audible.
Oh shit!
And this is hands down the highest production value audiobook I've ever listened to of all time. Like, the whole book has sound effects, fucking music, special, like, different characters, different voices, and it's a really good story so far. So if y'all get a chance to check out
Sandman?
The Sandman by Neil Gaiman, that's really good. And also another one that's really good if you want to get into, like, the whole, like, civil rights movement thing, like, in a modern day sense. There's a book called I'm Still Here by Austin Channing Brown, which is a book that Nicole recommended to me on the last podcast, and it's very good. It's about growing up as a African-American woman in America. It's not a very long book, but it's a really good book, and what she had to go through with, like, racism in her life in modern times. She I think was born in the 80s, so she's like slightly younger than us. But the issues that she goes through are very relatable, and I think that people need to listen to more stories like this, because it's important to understand that there's different Americans.
I had a question about the Sandman. Is it off the graphic novel or off of a book?
I think it's based off a book. It could be a graphic novel too, but I never read the graphic novel.
Because there is both. There's Sandman, the comic book character, and then there's Sandman, like the novel. And I don't know if they're related, but I've seen the book. I've seen the hardcovers, and I think it's a trilogy. Is it not?
I'm pretty sure it's the book.
Okay.
So I'm fairly certain. Like I said, I didn't read any of them, but so far, it is it's really good. So
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
From what I've seen, the books I believe is a trilogy. I think there's like 3 parts and that have been well received, if I'm not mistaken. So that sounds really
yeah, it is part of the book. Yeah, it's volumes 1 through 3 of the graphic novel. So okay, so that is based on the graphic novels, and it's about 11 hours long.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I mean it's good. It's really good.
Hold on.
All right, good shit. Old Ninja, what you got?
Me, I'm just catching up on this. Like I'm in the weeds on shows and TVs. One of the reasons I'm not going to get on this Ghost of Tsushima is like I bought all these games that I literally haven't played. Like literally, I bought Resident Evil 7 2 years ago on Black Friday, and I still have it wrapped in cellophane on my rack over here. So I plan on trying to get through that soon. But I bought Resident Evil 2 and 3, so I still got to go through those. And then there's a bunch of shows. So some of the shows I'm watching have actually ended. So I'm trying to get to the end, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which aired tonight. It's on its last season. I'm trying to stay current with that. Sleepy Hollow, I'm almost done with. And there's a couple other shows. We're going to be making ribs this weekend. So we're going to get the smoker going, smoke some ribs for 6 to 8 hours. And we bought 2 kinds of ribs. So we're going to make sauce from the Carolina sauce from scratch. We got the rib rub we're going to do from scratch. And then we're going to probably do it on hopefully between Thursday and Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be so good. And then other than that, dealing with I guess a lot of people don't realize that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, kind of pulled us back a stage. So a lot of people haven't figured that out yet or weren't paying attention. So I'm having to deal with people that I have to inform them of what's going on and deal with their backlash of that news. So I'm gonna have to deal with that again this weekend. So
people are fucking stupid.
Other than that, it's just gonna be business as usual. Staying social distancing, wearing my fucking mask, staying inside.
Good shit. I'm gonna give a quick, big time shout out because it wasn't mentioned earlier. Surprisingly, amazingly, the comic book industry is up. They had a record year, I guess, in 2019, 11% up over the current of the previous year, 2018. A record of 1.21 billion graphic novels and digital sales been leading the way. So definitely support your local comic shop still, if you can, even during all of this economic uncertainty and the pandemic and all of that. But there's some really good books out there. And I do want to get back into talking about some of the good books that we're certainly reading, because comics seem to be going through some thriving right now. So I'm really happy to see that. So that's awesome.
Shit.
And then, yeah, I was surprised. And then I want to get back into some co-op or some online gaming. I was playing a little bit of Borderlands 3 this week. I actually wouldn't mind, because I heard about all the changes. I wouldn't mind even dipping my toe into Dead by Daylight one more time, since that game has become kind of its own phenomenon or whatever.
It is, but there's no
friends that play it.
There's no weapons though. That's what fucks me up. There's no fucking weapons.
I heard some of the movie villains have weapons. So
the villains have weapons. Yeah. If you're a survivor, you have no weapons. So
maybe I'll be a villain. You know, I love that. So,
yeah, it's fucking weird.
Anyway, and still working my way through One Piece, and gonna play some more Weebin as Persona. But that's all I got. Take us out.
Oh, better get back on that fucking Monster Hunter. Anyway,
I do need to.
You just experienced Black and Black Side Infinity. Check us out on YouTube with Black and Black Side Infinity. We go live every Wednesday night, 8:30 Pacific time. Check us out on Spotify, Player FM, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and then Amazon. We're on there. Check out our official website, binheadproductions.com/BthanBTI. It's BTHANBTI, and Twitter it's @BthanBTI. And are we on iHeartRadio yet? No, we're still working on that. Yeah.
We are. We should be.
Are we?
On there. I thought we were on everything.
Okay.
Did we fuck up?
I don't know. I don't know if we got confirmed or not, but we're working on iHeartRadio. There you go.
Divorce her, Will. Divorce her.
Damn.
If you play Monster Hunter World, you have a small pee-pee.
God damn.
Oh no! How dare you? It's terrible.
Bears with nunchucks, y'all. Bears with nunchucks.